Zoop. Zoop. Oh, hi.
Hi.
That was mine was so facetious and yours was so genuine. I was like, oh, hi. You're like, hi. Hi, it's actually nice to see you.
It's me doing a genuine impression of Alaska, so.
Oh. Hi. Can I ask you a question? Hey. Oh, it still says the Friday stream thing? That's fine. It's fine. Whatever. It's not Friday. It's Monday. Just in case you weren't aware that that's the case.
Science
Ooga
of vulgarity.
Friday stream on Monday.
Hype?
I mean, I guess so. So yeah, we talking about thank you, Lima B, for the follow. Big appreciate. And also, thanks for coming, you know. We're talking about therapy today. Why you need it, why you should have it, what kind you should get. Seriously,
Yeah.
Especially if you're a straight white guy, go to therapy. For the love of God, go to therapy. You'll get so much more pussy, I promise. No, I'm kidding. I mean, you will, but
that shouldn't be the motivation, but you will.
Well, if that's enough of a motivation that you were like, that's actually a good idea, then you do need therapy and do that. You know, it's the truth.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the truth. It's the truth. But honestly, I was reading an article the other day about like some girl being like, for a long time I thought I didn't have like bad enough problems to actually go to therapy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like a common thing is people are like, yeah, well, I mean, like I'm not like that bad. And it's like, you don't need to be that bad. You don't need to be italics bad. You can just care about your mental health. Like, do you go to the doctor for your checkup because you feel like ass, or do you just go, you know? Pussy is a big motivator for the street, man. Bad. Yeah.
No.
Bad. I don't know. Just
she's a bad girl.
Be a girl.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like people, it's a hard, even though it's becoming way less destigmatized. Is that way less stigmatized?
Yeah.
I feel like it's still like a barrier for a lot of people to like overcome of like, oh, I actually like do need to like talk to somebody and like sort of unravel these like negative thoughts I have and stuff like that. Like you know, you get used to it. You start going to therapy in your 20s and it's like you have 20 years of shit to like get through essentially, right? So
well, it takes a level of self-awareness to like even acknowledge that your thoughts and your history and your way of thinking are maladaptive. Because a lot of people, I think, particularly those that are resistant to go to therapy, blame their problems externally when, like, certainly, like, a lot of problems start externally, especially if you experienced adversity, like, in your upbringing or in your day-to-day life. If you've got, like, an abusive, shitty boss or something like that that's constantly yelling at you, like, that sucks, right? Yeah. And that can be a reason, but, like, if you want to be able to facilitate your own, you know, ways of dealing with that and, you know, the strength to leave a shitty job or a shitty partner or whatever. Hello.
Hi, Lucas.
Yeah. Lima V, we presume, is our coworker, Lucas.
Yeah, if it's not, it would be
Dr. Lima. It's true.
Doctor, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to use his full legal name.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyways, yeah, so like it takes a level of self-awareness that I think a lot of people don't have unless you go to therapy, but if you don't go to therapy because it's like a cyclical thing. Yeah. And then there's all the barriers to getting it even if you do want therapy. Like, it's costly. Lots of places it's not covered under your medical things, especially in America. I'm pretty sure it's like way worse than here.
You know, mental health professionals are hard to come by. I heard actually that I think Hassan Minaj did a bit on Patriot Act that talked about the fact that
Skip024, hey, cool emoji. Is that a kangaroo or a dog?
I think it's a dog.
It looks like a dog, maybe like a cane corso or something. It's cute. Cute. Love the dog.
You love dogs?
I do love dogs.
She's dogs? Like dog spotting, but if it was a person in real life.
Animal spotting, really. I do it with cats too.
Yeah, she's driving a car, like you gotta be like, eyes on the road. Eyes on the road.
It's true. Hello, that is my Carolina dog Freya. Cute. I know so many people that really need therapy, basically half of my family. Yeah. And them not getting therapy is probably the reason that you need therapy. You know, like, not that I'm saying you need therapy, you probably do, because everybody needs therapy. It's kind of the message that we're doing here. But like, you know, other people's lack of getting therapy is usually the reason that you like are, you know, I guess that is externalizing the problem to like other people again, which I'm trying to say like we shouldn't do.
Well, okay. I feel like a lot of people have trauma, then a lot of it is childhood trauma, right? So like I know for me, a lot of my trauma, I actually just spoke about this today with another person. A lot of my trauma is like generational. It like was passed down from my grandparents to my parents, and then because because therapy wasn't cool yet, they didn't go to therapy until they were like their children were adults. So like the way that they raised us caused a lot of my like negative self-talk and like the things that I talk about my therapist with. So
well, and generational trauma is something that's just becoming a thing. Like that's something that only like yours / a little bit of my generation is even aware of being a thing. It's like they just discovered that was like a thing, and it's true and like very verifiable. But a lot of them would take the suggestion as an insult. Honestly, yeah, lots of people would. It's kind of a bullshit thing. To quote
Shea Coulee, therapy isn't just for white people with money. It's also for black people with money. And accessibility is a huge issue, unfortunately. Like that, I want to go back to that point that I was making before of like, there's actually, I think, one licensed psychologist like living in like the state of Wyoming or something like that.
What?
Legitimately. And it's actually so like in the US, it's like extremely difficult, obviously, with the healthcare system, but also like accessibility of actual, and I think that's one of the things that
like training to become one too.
Well, no, just like the number of healthcare providers and like obviously working in rural areas is like there's always limited healthcare, so like add that to the fact that mental health services are in high demand to begin with, it's almost impossible to get one. And I think that sorry, I had a point and it flew right out of my brain.
That's okay. All of my points are on the notebook that's on the kitchen table. Hey, husband / mod / tech support. Can you please bring me my little gray notebook?
Can you bring me a drink?
Oh. There are two ways of dealing with things.
with your emotional problems.
This is what happens if you don't go to therapy. No, I'm kidding. She does. You drink your problems away. I'm kidding.
Alcoholism does run in my family.
I live in Wyoming, and due to licensure, it's cheaper to get a degree in social work, and here they do pretty much the same thing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's interesting that you said Wyoming and that this person is from Wyoming. Cool. Yeah. Welcome from the what's your state known for? What's Wyoming? The whatever,
They're the state with the least population in the United States.
That's not what it says on the license plate though. Like, welcome to the empty state. Like, no. Like, come on.
That's a good, with Skip 24, what's like the license plate like motto of Wyoming?
Also, what is your state beverage? Is it milk? Licensed social work pog. Yeah.
I was actually just saying to Alicia that my sister-in-law is an LCSW and we should actually have her on the stream at some point.
I think it's like important to acknowledge too that there's like a whole bunch of like different mental health resources that aren't necessarily like sitting on your couch and being like, oh yes, how does this make you feel about your mother? And it doesn't have to always be that. And actually most therapy now isn't that. And I think there's still a lot of this like conceptualization that comes from like Hollywood ass shit that makes people like see therapy in a different way. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, I can tie this back in. I remembered what I was gonna say. Is that I think that's one of the nice things that about COVID that made, obviously we had to switch to like virtual everything, right? And the fact that you can just do therapy from your own couch via like a phone screen these days, and it makes it way more accessible. And it also, I think there's like, again, that thing of like, oh, is it just me laying on this couch in like a stranger's office and they like ask me questions about my childhood? Like, no, it's not like that. Like, you can do it from the comfort of your own home too. So well, people forget that like the person seeking the therapy is the person driving the therapy. Like, no one is going to extract information that you don't want to talk about. Like, my therapist, who I absolutely fucking adore, and I have been working together for over a year now, with like a small break while she was finishing her school and stuff like that. But there's stuff that like she knows that we probably should talk about, and that I'm just like, no, not there yet. A year and a half, and she has never once pressured me about it, because that's not what their jobs are. You know what I mean? And if you ever come across one, which would be rare, that did do that, then run. But like, it's just, I've never come across it. And I've seen like probably like 13 different therapists. So your state motto is equal rights. Okay. But you know how they say like,
California is the sunshine state or whatever, or Florida is the orange state. Is it orange state? You know, like what's Wyoming?
Actually, Florida is the sunshine state.
Listen, I'm Canadian. There's barely ever sunshine here.
How do I do
it's
an
just
incognito window on this area?
New private window. Oh
Okay,
yeah, here,
Wyoming is the what state? Like New Jersey's the garden state.
That's true. What is the state
of? How do we spell Wyoming? Try.
Like catchphrase. Is it? I don't know what to call that.
It's the equal rights state.
The equal land of the sunlight clear. Wyoming, land that we hold. This is great. All right. Huh. State tourism slang. That's Wyoming, the brand for travel. If you don't manage your brand, someone else will? What? I don't understand.
This is an ad.
It says the cowboy state on our license plate. I mean, I like that. Is that where one of the, what's that movie where Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger have gay sex in a tent? One of them's from Wyoming.
Mountain?
One of them's from Wyoming, right? I think one of them.
Actually do. I think that took place in Montana. Yeah. Okay,
no, one of them's from Montana. It took place in Montana. I haven't seen it, in case that's not clear.
So how do you know that one of them was from Wyoming if you've never seen it?
Because you know that in Gone with the Wind, it's about the Civil War and stuff. You don't have to have seen it. People just know things sometimes about stuff.
Was Gone with the Wind about the Civil
Starship
War?
Troopers was filmed in Wyoming. Love that for them. Anyways, I think one of them was from Wyoming. One of them was from Montana.
Oh, in Texas. Yeah, Doug knows.
You see? Listen to this. He's like our gay literature fact checker.
I was like, he knows.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, thank you for the fact check. Tech support did not bring me my notebook, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that myself.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love you, tech support.
Would you bring me a beverage too?
Yes, I'll do that too.
Thank you. It's just jack of all trades over there.
What kind do you want?
Just pick anyone. I'm not picky. But anyways, yeah, she brought up a really funny point about psychoanalysis, which is like it's actually a misnomer that like Freud is like, people think he's the father of psychology. I think he was actually the father of psychotherapy, if I'm not mistaken. And he is obviously, when we think about psychoanalysis, that's like the very classic, like that's where it comes from. She even did like a little bit of the Austrian accent.
Yeah. Well, and that's where like Oedipus complex comes from, which is like the so-called desire to kill your father and sleep with your mother if you're a male. And if you're a female, there's something called an Electra complex, which is just the gender switch of that, because they believed in only two genders back then. Like half the world still does here. But
Brokeback Mountain was filmed in Wyoming.
Oh. Interesting. I love being right. I'm frequently wrong. That was not one of those times.
Sorry, but we were talking about Freudian psychoanalysis. Yeah. I think that's also where, I forget what the category of those things are called, but like repression, projection, those phenomena.
Oh, like transference and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
What do they call them? They're like something mechanisms.
Yeah. Was it just like a coping mechanism?
Transference.
Repression, projection.
A relationship with some yes.
Relationship with some
transference, sublimation. What are the other ones? Repression,
projection,
defense mechanisms. They apparently call them. Yeah, that is what they call them. I remember now, but cute. Yeah. So okay, they're the ones that like came up with the fact that everything's about dicks. Like, just, they're, like, like,
blah, blah, blah.
The straw's a dick, and the reason that she likes drinking from straws because she's got some issues with her father would be what they would say in psychoanalytic. Like, really classical, staunch version of that, not a modern one. And those things could be true, but I doubt that it's related to a fucking...
I'm not drinking from that straw for the rest of this stream.
Listen, I haven't had dick in a while. Give me that. No, I'm kidding.
Stop!
Hey, science! Cool. Thank you for gifting the sub. That's sweet. Woo woo. I thought science was actively streaming right now, so that's interesting. I don't know if that's like because they gifted subs last time, if it's like automatic, but either way, thank you. Yeah, no, I don't need the straw. But I do like a straw though. Maybe that's saying something.
Yeah, we do like straws in this household. That's why these are biodegradable. We put them in the compost.
I have my built-in straw of my water bottle that you guys watch me drink out of all the time. I think it's also a nursing thing, according to Freudians. They're just like, it's like a repressing, going back to your like childhood comfort kind of thing, like suckling.
I do find that I drink more water when it comes from a sort of
sugar aunt daddy. Ants do like sugar. Jam daddy. Jam. You know? Jam? Like peanut butter and jam?
Yeah. That's a very specific reference, like a picnic reference that you just made.
Yeah, I guess
ants liking jam.
You know the classic picnic references. Who doesn't? Come on. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I got my notebook. But since we're talking about like psychoanalytic theory, people still like fully believe in that. It's like a thing that...
Oh, I have a hilarious anecdote that I was talking to somebody about the fact that we were going to talk about therapy today on stream.
Yeah.
And this is one of my students, actually, where she was telling me...
I mean,
I'm
not gonna... Oh, you told me. You told me. Right.
And she was telling me that she went to I forget what psychoanalysis goes by a different name now. It's psycho something. It's like the modern version of psychoanalysis. And... she was essentially saying that like she was suffering from depression. She was an undergraduate student. It's extremely common to have anxiety and depression.
Psychodynamic therapy is what it's called now, apparently.
And she was like, okay, so when you feel depressed, what do you do? And she was like, I lie down. And then she was like, well then why do you lie down? And she's like, because it's easier. It makes my body doesn't feel as heavy. And then she, like, made her expand on that. She's like, well, it's kind of like when I, like, take a bath, like, you're, like, lying down. And she's like, what does that remind you of? She was pretty much trying to tell her. She was like, what position do you lie down in? Essentially trying to get her to say, oh, like, I lay in the fetal position. It's a representation of my mother's womb. And it's like, how is that helping a child who is, like, an 18, 20-year-old kid who's going through depression, depressive symptoms, to tell them it's, like, reminds them of their mother's womb?
Well, also, like, this is related. I did, like, a little bit of research, and I've talked about on my previous, like, solo streams about memory. Like, we don't remember that. People talk about remembering that and, like, birth trauma and stuff like that. And, like, sure, that could be a thing. I'm sure it's very traumatic to be born. But we all do it. So if that were the reason that people were fucked up, then everybody would be fucked up, which is kind of true. But different degrees of fucked up. So like that wouldn't be the reason that you're depressed in your mid-20s when you're in university. It's probably a little bit more like you need to work on your sleeping habits.
Well, I also think that there's... Yeah, exactly. And I also think that there's... Medication. Yeah, you were a gifted kid, and then they told you, then you got to university, and everybody is smart, and you're like, wow.
You go to the Harvard of Canada, so...
But my... I must have not slept very well. My brain just went poof.
She was talking about being in the womb and stuff like that. The therapist to your student.
I completely forgot.
Shout out science. Yeah, science is one of the reasons. And we didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning of this, but we'll do that in a second. Anyways, science is one of my favorite streamers and one of the reasons that I decided to jump into streaming psychoms. So big ups to them. I vaguely remember something from intro psychology related to development phases as the anal phase. I was going to talk about that. Yeah. So that's what anal retentive, if you hear someone being called anal retentive, they're talking about a Freudian thing.
Yeah. So it's called the psychosexual stages of development.
Yeah. So there's like oral, anal,
phallic,
and then the last one. And if you get stuck...
Latent? Something like that. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, latent is like just like subconscious in any sort of thing. Science is who got me into streaming. He voluntold me. Oh, that's awesome. I like look at him being like the mecca of stream. Yeah, cool. What kind of stuff do you stream, Skip? Tell us about your stream. SBP. S'il vous plaît. Please, thanks. don't know if you speak French. SVP doesn't translate outside of here, but I started saying it as shorthand for
I
like,
know,
please.
I love it, honestly. Yeah, that's one of the things I want to take with me from
Master of projection. It's so true. But okay, so yeah, people say that like if you smoke, again, this is psychoanalytic, people would say that if you smoke, you have an oral fixation.
Which meant that like when you were a child, you had some sort of trauma when you were a child, and you always like, the age where you always put things in your mouth, there's something traumatic happened during that developmental phase, and that's why you have oral fixation.
Yeah. Well, and there's also like turning back to like the anal retentive thing, there's like the opposite of that. So everything is like either oral retentive or oral expletive, I think, which is like so if you're like really shy and reserved and like, you know, too shy and you never speak up for yourself, you would be like oral retentive as well, is like another like layer of that level of therapy, which is completely, I think, redonkulous. But one of the things that's like interesting about it too is they talk about like repressed memories, right? Like, and that was a whole thing in like the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
A wee bit of everything, some mental health talks, some gaming, lots of showing off my pets. Love that. I do all of those things except for gaming. But I you know, maybe I'll play The Sims on stream one time.
Maybe we'll do some trivia.
Oh, we'll definitely do some trivia. We love pets. Pets are big. I like pets.
Good content. Somebody should just do a stream where it's just their pets doing like a puppet show or something.
I know streamers that have a second cam and like there's a little like a corner of their window that's like on their pet at all times.
That's so
like that's actually
cute.
a common thing.
Oh my God.
So yeah, in any event, I have a puppy cam.
Nice.
I need a puppy cam. I should get a puppy cam. Baby. Hoon would be like,
what is this?
She'd be like, our toy?
Just her like chewing on a sock.
Yeah, exactly. What was I gonna say? I can't remember. Oh yeah, we didn't introduce ourselves. I don't know like if there's people in here that are new, old, or whatever, but I am Neuroleisha and this is Layla's show.
So
yeah. And we talk about neuroscience and psychology-based things, and particularly Monday we call this vulgar science because to vulgarize is to make something lewd, but also to explain it in lay terms. So we kind of do both of those things because we like to talk about the shady, you know, side of things that people don't talk about. We've had an episode on fetishes and kink.
Yeah.
And
the
we're
science
kind of
behind those things. Yeah. Yeah,
we kind of are willing to talk about anything. So if you ever have any suggestions of like shit that people just don't talk about, hey, okay, DK, welcome back. She's the model for some of my emotes. I need a Hoon emote. Oh my gosh. Do you make your own emotes, Skip024? But yeah, we're talking about psychoanalytic theory. And I was...
You were talking about oral retentive versus oral expletive.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just, like, part of, like, those stages. And, like, people that would be, like sex addicts or, like, guys that would be, like, womanizers would be, like, in the penile expletive or whatever, like, the non-retentive, like, just the I can't remember what the actual word that they use for it is, but, like, that's how they justify, like, literally every single behavior. And the way that you would work through that in psychodynamic theory or psychoanalytic theory is what I knew it called as, is to like recover repressed memories, which is like exactly what her student was obviously going through, is they're trying to get you to go like all the way back to birth, which is like sus.
A lot. Yeah. And
I think the reason that it's like a little bit kind of bullshit is we know that the way that memory is encoded means that they become labile, they become moldable when you recall them, so you can very easily implant a false memory. So people will be like, did they touch you? And then you'll recall it, and maybe you recall that someone touched you inappropriately.
There's a lot of evidence that shows that hypnotic therapy actually can, especially for habits like smoking or eating disorder type behaviors, that there is actually a lot of like benefits that can come from hypnotic therapy. But if you're trying to use hypnotic therapy to like deal with like mental health issues, there is like this it's called this rule of suggestion or something like that, in that, you know, if you're trying to explore like I can't remember, I think it was done in like the 90s or something, that they were looking into people's pasts and they found that you could like suggest or supplant memories of like sexual trauma.
That's why this stopped having a renaissance back then. Like people got in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they like planted like just full blown like bad stuff. Are those theories still accepted? Oh nice, I say they're both penile and labile so far. So a normal Monday. Yeah, they're accepted by a few niche people, and I think like the important thing is what Layla was just saying is like the hypnotic end of it is still useful in some cases, though as you were saying that I was thinking to myself like, are they actually effective because of the reason they're trying to be effective, or is it A, placebo effect, and B, a little bit of just relaxation and like talk therapy just being more effective than nothing? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it the hypnosis, or is it the process of hypnosis and you believing it works?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think that there's value in what you're saying, but for instance, people who have like physical cravings for like tobacco say that after they had like hypnotic therapy, they didn't crave it anymore. So that being like an objective physical marker, I think that you could say that there might be some benefits, but again, placebo can be pretty strong, especially when it's like a mind over matter situation.
Yeah. Well, and I think it would depend too, like when you ask these people these things, and there would be a little bit of like the, we were talking about this in our thing the other day, our teaching session, and someone asked to re-explain, what is the term for it? Demand characteristics. So when you're part of a study and you figure out what the study's about, the tendency for a participant to just do or say or report what they think the person doing the research wants to hear is called demand characteristics, and that can skew this sort of data as well. Of course we have like ways to combat that and stuff like that we've talked about previously, but yeah, I don't know how much I buy it, but if it's effective for a person, then it doesn't really matter if I buy it, right? Because it's effective for them. So like it could be like, I believe in the spaghetti monster god and that got me off drugs. Then good for you, man. Have your spaghetti and eat it too. You know?
Yeah. We can definitely say that there are pieces of like Freudian psychological or psychoanalytic theory that definitely are pervasive in culture to this day, are still actually like concepts that we still learn in psychology and still use. But I feel like the traditional structure, there's a lot of issues with it. Actually, I want to go back to that point about where you're talking about like anal retentive. So being anal retentive, it was like that you had like when somebody calls somebody anal retentive, it's like you have control issues, and that had to do with like the potty training phase. But a lot of these things that he looked at and established also had like a lot of sexism in them. So there would be, and a lot of what he actually based his like work on were women who were, and he actually coined the term hysteria or hysterical, and talking about these women who were literally just extremely depressed because they had no rights, and they literally had like, they were sexually like their husbands were just
unsatisfied.
Sexually unsatisfied.
Yeah, wait, didn't he like get a bunch of them off, or wasn't there some like son or something of his, or like some person of that school that was like, I'll just give him orgasms, that'll fix it?
I think that there was like some masturbation theory or masturbation work that was done as well. That essentially like that's how they came up with the concept of hysteria, was that these women were like sexually unsatisfied, and they had all this like trauma as well, and there's like one specific case, Anna O, that I can't remember now, but I think it was like she was suffering abuse from her partner because of like abuse that she had suffered from her father or something along those lines. But again, a lot of the stuff that he did is like pretty unethical now. Like he did think cocaine was like a cure-all drug, so like take everything that he did with a grain of salt. But again, there are still pieces that we still use to this day that are
I received CBT in conjunction with MDMA assisted therapy to help with my PTSD, and it worked wonders. It's interesting that you bring up PTSD, because I think that that's like partially one of the things about psychoanalytic theory that I found might still be kind of useful, and that's like in that memories aren't you can repress memories. We do repress memories because you only recall memories when they're useful. So in a situation like PTSD, and the classical example is like you hear a car backfire and it makes you flash back to when you were in the Vietnam War or something. Like that's like a classic example that people use, especially in like veterans and that sort of thing. And that makes sense because your mind doesn't need to constantly be remembering that, but as soon as it's triggered to remember that, then you go into a fight or flight state. So if, using psychoanalytic theory to bring that memory to the forefront when you're in a controlled state, and using pharmacological agents now like MDMA to assist with that and help rewire and use the brain's plasticity to your advantage, that holds up. That holds water to me.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like giving drugs that have maybe a euphoric effect, as MDMA does, you're using conditioning, and that actually is a piece of behavioral therapy that is. So I don't.
Yeah. Imperfect Pixels, thank you. Oh, and also welcome. Haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah,
welcome back, Imperfect Pixels. I was skeptical by the notion of playing with Play-Doh being related to the anal phase. Oh, is that something that happened? I am not aware of that being part of psychodynamic therapy. Yo, a Play-Doh play shop, the hair barber shop. Oh, so much fun.
I know. Honestly,
if that was part of my therapy,
like,
I'd be happy all the time.
The Play-Doh kitchen where you could like mold different foods and stuff, dude.
Extremely depressed, though, could hold in a Duke, retentive as fuck. Right. Wow, Freud and Rick James having too much in common. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Yeah. Thank you so much for the sub, Imperfect Pixels. It's amazing.
It went from anal retentive to a coffee commercial. That's actually hilarious.
I mean, this is how a lot of people get through their day. Start their day off right. Coffee and.
Did you know that it's actually extremely low percentage of people that get caffeine, like need to poop because of caffeine?
What kind of literature are you reading about caffeine?
I found it on like an infographic, and there were citations. It was only like 30% of people, which
caffeine is a natural diuretic.
That's what I was saying. And I'm like, everybody I know has to take a shit after drinking coffee.
Yeah, well, and like, okay, I think it would probably have to do with like how much coffee your body is used to having, because there's some people that are probably so dependent on it that if they don't have 8 cups of coffee, it doesn't work. So if you ask them in a survey, like, a cup of coffee, does it make you need to go to the bathroom? They might say no, when realistically it's just because like their body...
Demand characteristics.
Whoa. Oh, hey, welcome back, Christo Rock. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. I have about a 30-minute window after I have coffee. I'm very regular. Y'all aren't anal retentive, I guess. I smoke and drink coffee, so I get a double whammy. There's a psych thing there too, like oral fixations, which are hit or miss. Yeah, we had talked about oral fixations maybe before you got here, but yeah, cigarettes are definitely an oral fixation. Drinking, and we talked about straws. Oh, she's back to the straw.
I know, okay.
Look at this, an oral fixation right before our very eyes. Just kidding, look at that eye roll. I drink a minimum of a pot a day. I quit both smoking and coffee, and I didn't take a dump for a week. Yeah, see, exactly. That's what I'm talking about, is like tolerance-wise, So, yeah. That sounds awful, but...
So you read the best part of waking up, and then the comment about a dump came right at the same time, and the best part of waking up is taking a dump? Like, I mean, okay.
Realistically, for a lot of people, I think it is. I just got here.
Digestively healthy chat.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be as much shame as there is around talking about, bodily function.
Oh, this is also something. I feel like I just say things that I'm like, this is science, but it's actually just like from TikTok.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I was reading an article the other day, and
I was watching a TikTok video.
Yeah.
I'm dead. But yeah, apparently men experience euphoria when they take a shit because it triggers because it touches their prostate. That's like a thing that people think is like, I don't know, there's probably no scientific evidence for this, but
have you ever stimulated a prostate?
I've tried. Possibly unsuccessfully.
Really?
I don't know, dude.
It's pretty easy to do. I mean, I guess it depends on what... Never mind. Let's not get into it. This is vulgar science. We could get
our
into
fetish
it.
episode was last week.
Our fetish episode was last week. But yeah, no, I believe that. Tony Soprano compared his therapy sessions to taking a shit. He also was in love with his therapist, Dr. Melfi. I mean, who wouldn't be? She's a fucking 10.
I did not watch
Can't-
The Sopranos. That was before my time.
Okay, but it's timeless. It's timeless. Like, it's a little bit not timeless, but it's also like...
Who has HBO Crave money? Not us. I know.
You don't have to do it that way. Melfi the Milfy. Maybe you did it wrong. My wife didn't have to try hard with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I probably did it wrong, honestly.
Well, it depends on, like, if you're using if you have tactile input or if there's, you know, a device situation, right? Because you could be just not, you know. Like, if I put my finger in your mouth, I can tell what I'm touching. But if I take a pencil and I put it in your mouth, I don't know what tooth I'm touching.
Oral fixation.
Listen, do you see how fast I took your straw when you got rid of it earlier? I'm like, don't mind if I do.
This is not straw now. What are you going to drink with it?
Oh, lick it. I'm kidding.
So you use thumbtacks, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like a finger in the bum if that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So use thumbtacks. Got it. What? Oh. There's a special tool to help in that area. Also, hi. We're already there. Yeah, okay. I mean, like, we were talking about being anal retentive. We're close by the subject, so realistically.
Yeah. You know, finger in the bum is great therapy.
And, whatever gets you off, whatever gets you there, as long as you're not hurting other people and you're doing things safely, do you. A doctor once used one of those plastic spreader things on me and it ruined a year of my...
Sorry.
Are you talking about a speculum?
Wait,
speculum in your...
They can put speculums in the butthole?
Oh, they for sure can. That's what they're for. They're for opening orifices.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what they use
But
when
I've
they do
never
like
heard of it.
colostomies or not colostomies, colonoscopies. Not sure the technical term. Does it look like a duck? Long beak duck?
Have you looked at it before?
A
it's
speculum
gone
of
inside
fucking-
you?
No, while it's going inside me, they're just out on the tray.
I
You've
don't
never looked at them?
actively look at them. I don't want to know more than I have to.
All right, well, trigger warning, because I'm going to show people what a speculum looks like.
I was checking for anal fissures. Damn. I never
Yeah.
looked him in the eyes.
Yeah. Guys, this is a speculum. This is a speculum.
That's terrifying.
That's what goes in you when you get a pap.
I know.
It ratchets open, too. Like,
I know,
it's
it's like
have you ever used a hemostat? It reminds whenever I use a hemostat and it goes click, click, click. Anyways. Yeah, that was up my ass. Well, I mean, I should have at least winked. It's just malpractice. We just heard tech support laugh from like 3 rooms away.
Yeah, that was up my ass.
Listen, I'm sure you'd rather have that than just like... That's what's supposed to... They're designed for that. See how soft the edges are? Well, I mean, it's not up anymore.
You know, how many women say that they fucking hate the speculum? It's so uncomfortable.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot better things that could go up there than a speculum. Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, duh.
Obviously.
But, and usually we're in there and they're like, scooch forward. Have you seen the same girl that has like the German mom that says screw cups?
Yeah.
She does like a gynecologist that doesn't care if you live or die and it's like, scooch forward, scooch forward. And it's so fucking true. Anyways. I had a cream-filled donuts ruined for me because of Van Wilder. Oh my god, memory unlocked. I forgot about Van fucking Wilder. Have you seen that? Ryan Reynolds? Come on.
Lived a sheltered childhood.
I mean, you gotta do things we all have to. I gotta go help my wifey cook dinner. I'll be lurking. Cool, well, thank you for lurking along with us, and feel free to pop back in for whatever unhinged madness at any point. And have fun cooking dinner with your wifey pie.
Do I have to watch the scene now?
Show her this. Well, I don't even remember the exact scene, and I don't know that I really want.
Van Wilder donut, is that
I
gonna
don't.
be?
I don't know if we're allowed to watch that. Later, potato chip. Lurk. Do it, show her. It's so funny. Well, okay, we can have she reacts to it, maybe us not share. No, it's pretty gross. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. Do it, show her. It's so funny. That poor dog. Oh, right. It was That's worse. No fucking way. Nope.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Skip is my IRL twin. Jesus. Oh, Skip is your twin. Oh, cool. Welcome, twin. We heard about you.
Twinsies.
Jesus, show it. Listen, this is called Neuralicia and Layla do vulgar science, not imperfect pixels tells us what to watch. All right?
Just show me. Just show me. We won't show it on the screen, but aren't you just gonna see my mouth drop open essentially?
Please don't post links in chat if you want to share a message mod. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But we get to decide what level of vulgar and what type of vulgarness it is. This is not... I feel like I'm being bullied into this.
I feel like you are. I'm also participating in the bullying, though. Wait, is Van Monder a character that Ryan Reynolds played?
Yeah. I'm not happy. I don't want to look at it. No, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look.
It's not even playing yet. It's just the.
Listen, I'm gonna describe it. I'm gonna explain it.
Yeah, okay. I don't need to see that.
No.
I'm good. I'll pass.
There's a dog that has a large scrotum, and it's like a joke throughout the thing, and then they're giving donuts to someone to like be like, fuck you, and you can see where this is going. It's a cream-filled donut, and the dog is like filling. Not the dog itself, the stuff. Yeah, anyways.
That's disgusting. Okay, never mind. I don't need to see that.
That was a test you passed. I don't even care about the video. This is science. LOL. True that. You don't have to. What if you didn't? Wait. LOL. Remove the cream and refilled with cream. Yeah. It's, man, it's some of the shit that was in films in the early 2000s and the late 90s and stuff was like...
American Pie is like...
Not okay.
Not okay. Not woke at all.
No. Well, I mean, Stifler's mom, though. We love Jennifer.
Mean Jennifer Coolidge?
I do mean Jennifer Coolidge. That's exactly who I mean. Come on, a dude after pie. Yeah, but they also like had zero consent and like.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like a little rapey, that movie.
Yeah. Jennifer Coolidge is incredible. If any of those movies came out today, they would be canceled. 100%. They just wouldn't come out today. Yeah, and I mean like. A testament to the time that I grew up in and like, you know, why my relationship with like the world is so fucked up. This is why I need therapy.
You know, I really thought you were about to say your relationship with God for a second. I don't know why. I thought you of all people were going to say God.
Maybe that is why because I don't have a great relationship with whoever that fuck is. Like, no shade if you're religious, which I doubt you are if you're turning into this. Watching. Lord, get back to me when you've seen Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, I think I saw it a long time ago. Really gross today. Stifler's mom has got it going on, exactly. Like Stacy's mom. Oh my god, I forgot about that part of the movie. It reminds me of when I dated a guy named Jesus. Jesus. Did I meet Jesus? Was that super hot young kid? Like, sorry, not... you know who I'm talking about. Was it that guy that we went to brunch with?
What do we find as young kids these days? For you.
You? No, I'm kidding. I'm lying. No, that was Peter. Okay, looking for real.
Oh, yeah. I shared a demi picture with Peter.
A demi picture. What the Christ? Some Peter Jesus.
Peter Jesus. Peter Jesus.
Peter Jesus.
Oh, yeah, Peter Jesus.
Yeah, I guess. Peter Paul and Mary. Jennifer Coolidge goes on the... What is this? Oh, Risto Rock. Thank you for gifting that sub. Amazing. Jennifer Coolidge goes on the mommy list. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go.
Oh, we're not logged in, so we can't vote.
You're not logged in?
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge
is going on the mommy list. Agreed. There we go. We have our first mommy list entry. Actually, I think you suggested this to me... Either on stream or off stream, but I think Nigella Lawson. Someone
else, actually, I think it was Doug brought it up in a previous stream. Yeah. There was someone else that came up recently that I was like, oh, definitely. and I thought that you would actually agree with it, and I can't remember who it is for the life of me, for fuck's sake.
It was, I think you suggested it on stream. You were like, I think this person, and I was like, I disagree.
Oh no, that was Angelica Houston. That's fine, because like, lots of people, she's a little bit stern. Yeah, I know, but it wasn't her. There was someone since then that I've thought of that I was like waiting to talk about, and I haven't. So you wouldn't know who I'm talking about because it was just like spontaneously throughout my life since the last time I saw you. You know?
So you're...
I love the little rat emote. Thank you for using it.
So cute.
Anyways, yeah. Oh, P.S. Yeah, I just remembered that we, our follower goal is to, once we hit it, we're gonna plan a Saturday stream, maybe play trivia on stream, because these guys have a PS5, or just generally be vaguely more unhinged and do it on a Saturday, and, you know.
I have all the Jackbox games, too, so we could do Jackbox games as well.
Yeah. In any event, if that's something you guys are into, or if you have a different suggestion for something we could do on a Saturday stream, that would be cool. Either way, we'll do the Saturday stream. So I just got a PS5. What are you guys made of money? Aren't they like $800?
I told you.
Oh right,
that
you freaking points.
Use my PC Optimum points.
Like a coupon mom here. I actually used my PC Optimum points.
I know, I sound like
went from a Sega Genesis to a PS5. Honestly, a Sega Genesis is probably worth bank now, so good for you, man. Bought a PC instead of a PS5. Yeah, you guys, you know, I'm gonna need to, like, get actual stuff if I, like, keep caring about things in my life. I'm
gonna need to get actual stuff if she keeps caring about things in her life. Sentences.
I mean...
Therapy.
Yeah. I stand by what I said, in whatever context you want to, yeah. And yes, I'm ballin'. Okay, Jennifer, someone voted no? Oof, controversial.
Who voted no on Jennifer Coolidge? Come on now. Actually, I heard that she's in her renaissance, too, right now, because she just did White Lotus, and then what was the other thing that she did recently that she got, like, Emmy nominated for?
I thought it was White Lotus.
I thought there was something else as well. Anyways.
I can probably give you my PS4. It's a little old, but she works and it's just collecting dust. Hell yeah, bitch. Honestly, don't do it until I'm, like, done a few things, because then I'll do nothing but play Final Fantasy and piss my money away on a monthly subscription for Final Fantasy. Speaking of therapy, I have an appointment with my therapist in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yes, props. Big props. Claps. Wow. Great, good for you.
We'll still be here when you're done.
Yeah.
So just come join us.
Yeah, come on back. Let us know how. Unless sometimes therapy can be emotionally draining. In which case, if you need to go and like just have a little nap, but you're welcome to come back. Let us know how it went. Every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So far away, on the other side of the not the planet, the other side of the continent. Yeah. Hey, mental health bug. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about psychoanalytic theory, and obviously we should talk about CBT, because that's like what most people's therapy is, even if it's not explicitly CBT. If they're like, the therapist is probably going to tell you what they usually do, but even if they don't, they're usually doing CBT.
So I didn't know that much about CBT before I actually like went to therapy myself. Apparently it literally started as like cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy, and then they like mixed them together, their methodologies, and like that is how CBT came about, apparently. Which I think is interesting.
Sometimes I feel like I've been hit by a car after a session. Me too, man. Me too. I usually have therapy on Fridays before my Friday stream, so sometimes I'm like a little...
Really?
Yeah, because I like my Friday therapy, because then I can go into the weekend like
feeling refreshed.
Also, like, honestly, your girl's been doing pretty good lately, so she's only been crying a little bit of therapy, if at all. So I'm very open about therapy and the things I've been through. I've conditioned myself that way after traveling around the country for 2 years telling my story. CBT is amazing. Most of the time, people help figure out their own problems with the guidance of a therapist. It's amazing. Absolutely love it. Oh man, am I the only one here not going to therapy? I feel left out now. Hit up the therapy, DK. Come on.
Yeah. Dougalicious, I completely understand. Actually, I think the reason that I am not in therapy right now is because, and I have been, like, wanting to go back, it's just that it's the idea of, like, knowing that I'm gonna cry for like almost like a full like 45 minutes to an hour every week, like one day every week, is just like, I don't know if I can. That emotional toll is like, I'm like, do I really want to bring myself to do that? Seems like a lot. Which, like, it's valuable. I understand that there's value, but it's...
Especially if that's what happens when you go to therapy.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? Because, like, that, like, no shade. That's what happened to me a lot. But I've been going to therapy, like, every week or sometimes every 2 weeks. It depends on how busy we are in her schedule and stuff. But for a year and a half, and, like, sometimes I do just, like, wail like a whale.
Wail like a whale.
Wail like a whale. But also, like, now I've kind of, like, process that more, so I don't have this big backlog because I'm constantly going to therapy. So I think like that barrier that a lot of us have of not wanting to feel like you've been hit by a truck or cry, like it's a big emotional load. But I mean, I'd rather get it out in an hour and then like enjoy my weekend, you know what I mean? Or like be more equipped to deal with life. After 15 years of pretending I'm fine, I'm a newish one too. Crying is healthy. It's a way of physically releasing emotion.
The therapy train coming.
Yeah. Hope you're doing better now. I just got in my head about it, but the last therapist I had was maybe just not asking the right questions. Once you work through a lot of the main shit, it's actually inspiring.
Like, a lot of your experience is going to be based on how well your therapist fits you, and I think that having somebody that can relate to your experience is, like, extremely valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My therapist worded it amazingly. Your brain tries to rationalize the emotional pain, so it releases it through physical reaction like crying. Well, and your tears actually have stress chemicals in them. Like they've done like responses to that. And there's no actual provable theory about why people cry, but one of the best theories that I think is the most parsimonious or the most simple answer that, you know, is reasonable is it's actually... whenever any of your mucous membranes are going, it's because there's foreign stuff in there that could be toxic to you or poison. So like if you have something bitter in your mouth, you salivate. If you have something go up your nose gets trippy. If you get something in your ears, it gets all clogged up, right? Every en route is that. So people have hypothesized that crying is your way of getting like a toxin out or a poison or, you know, something that's maladaptive, and that's just the way that, you know, our bodies have evolved to deal with like an emotional toxicity. And I know that sounds very like woo-woo, but honestly it kind of fucking makes sense, right?
Yeah, if you have an excess of stress hormones that, you know, that's it definitely is maladaptive, as you can have like early onset.
Layla is kind of hard to hear.
Huh. Did the mics switch or something?
I don't know. Our levels are fine here.
Weird. Super weird.
We are in control of our own treatment. Yeah, well, and we said that at the beginning of the session. I guess just be louder. Because it's this mic that's supposed to be doing the thing.
Yeah, you just tapped it and it went yellow, so I think it should be fine. That's weird.
Yeah. It should be fine. And you're closer to it. Yeah. I'm generally louder, though. Just, whatever. I don't know if that mic is picking... This one is the mic that should be doing it. This one, I don't think is actually on. I think that this is just to look cute.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well.
Test? Yeah.
Testicles. This one's definitely not.
Ovaries. No, it's
general gonads. Anyways. If it's that bad, then we'll get tech support to come in. But yeah, so crying's healthy, and you know, you gotta let it out and stuff like that. When she got closer, well, yeah, of course. Maybe you're just relaxing a bit too much, I guess. But yeah, therapy's cool, and cognitive behavioral therapy is definitely something that, like you were saying, it's you know, tech support coming in to troubleshoot the microphone, perhaps. What?
I don't know. Do we need help? You're watching the stream.
Doug said the audio is rough. I did that.
Condenser microphone's on. So the audio range that it picks up from is generally from here, so try angling it out.
Oh, it's because I'm talking into the back of the mic.
Oh.
That makes sense. I see. Love of my life. Hee hee.
Yeah, the mic is maxed, so we can't control it Oh, it is better. Okay, so maybe it's because I fucked with it. I don't know, whatever.
You're just a wizard.
No, I meant it was bad because I fucked it up, not I fixed it. God, no.
I was like, she's a wizard and a boomer, guys.
I mean, yeah, all of the above. But yeah, so cognitive therapy, to like clarify, like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, as she was saying, is like a marriage of cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy. And basically, cognitive therapy is like trying to control the way that you think. So one of the main things that I got taught when I was being treated in a CBT way was like thought stopping. So when you have a negative thought and you start to go down that spiral, just literally picturing a stop sign or distracting yourself with, you know, some other thought, or, you know, challenging these thought biases that we have, like all or none thinking, or, you know, lots of people talk to yourself like you would a close friend. And so like thinking about it from a different person's perspective is another part of the cognitive part of CBT, at least.
Yeah, and that cognitive behavioral aspect is that they always say that your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors all interplay with each other. So being able to control your thoughts or your behaviors to then control the other one is helpful. So as Alicia said, if you behaviorally decide, okay, I'm going to practice mindfulness to avoid these types of thoughts, that's a really good intervention, essentially.
Yeah, well, and the behavioral part of behavioral therapy is like part of a lot of other therapies too, including dialectical behavioral therapy, which I plan to talk about, but it's where like you act the way that you want to, regardless of like your desire to do it or your like cognitive biases about it, kind of thing. So if it's like, oh, I don't feel like getting out of bed today, you just get out of bed, kind of thing. And usually the thoughts follow the actions and the actions follow the thoughts, kind of like what you were describing. But together they're more than the sum of their parts, is why CBT is now like the frontline most preferred thing. Though that's becoming less popular now because of alternative, like new forms of therapy that I think add a little bit more meaning. And I think that's why a lot of people turn away from cognitive behavioral therapy, and why I'm not, like, I think it's great. And one of you guys said that CBT is awesome and really worked for you. So this is not meant to disparage it at all. But I think that knowing a little bit of the why and being able to explain it for me personally is something that gets ignored a lot in CBT. You know, they're just like, it doesn't matter why, it doesn't matter how you got here, it just matters what you do about it. And to some degree that's true, but for me, intellectualizing and like, you know, those sorts of coping mechanisms are what really works for me. So I like to think about how I got there so that I can not go that way again, and like be more aware and that sort of thing. And I think a lot of people feel that way because it's more personalized kind of thing.
I think for me, it's like I have a lot of self-confidence, so I feel like intellectualizing it makes it that I feel like I can like outsmart the therapy in a way, which I think is like a weird sort of, I'm like, oh, well, my negative self-talk, I'm like, oh, well, this is actually true about me, or I like, you know, it's like an overthinking, underthinking sort of thing. Yeah. It's like a weird sort of perception. Yeah.
Well, like, that's one of the things that I think, like, if I'm understanding you right, that like CBT kind of lets you down in that way, is like if you don't buy into it fully and like leave your reservations at the door, and you're kind of like high functioning about it, that's where it stops. Because it's like, okay, yeah, of course that's true, like I know I should talk to myself kinder, but like I also don't deserve that. Yeah, you know, that's like everybody else does, but not me. Yeah. So like, and then you start to be like, why am I so bad at being nice to myself? And then you get in this like meta fuck hole. Yeah. You know, anyways, don't drown your sorrows in alcohol though. That's not a good idea. I mean, tea, but also I think like harm reduction is really important. And I think that that's something that people are circling back around to as well, is like, it's not useful to beat yourself up for something that is a coping mechanism. Even if it's not an ideal coping mechanism, it is a coping mechanism. And I'm by no means telling people that drinking is a great way to deal with your problems, but a lot of people beat themselves up for, you know, having a glass of wine or two to unwind at the end of the day. And maybe, yeah, there is a better way to deal with it, but one fucking step at a time. And as long as you're not driving drunk and like binge drinking to like excess and like alcohol poisoning yourself, one step at a time, you know?
Yeah.
Like give yourself some grace, I guess.
Yeah. I have a lot of, as I said before, my alcoholism runs in my family, and like I come from rural like farm background on my mother's side where that alcoholism is, and there's just like a lot of really unhealed people in the generation above me who have had like sexual trauma. I think some of them are probably like closeted gay, and they just aren't able to talk about these things. They're not able to come to terms with these things. They've never talked to anyone about these things. And I'm like, you know, if you are going through this laundry list of issues, I think also ADHD is like really prominent in that generation as well. And like they've just never dealt with any of these things. I'm like, you know, alcoholism might be the only coping mechanism that you have in your,
well, and at least a frontline thing, right?
Yeah,
like here's like, this is a hot take, but we use a lot of other depressants, and I use that in terms of like a physiological depressants, which alcohol is. There's prescription depressants that they use when people are feeling overactivated, and those are completely legitimate because they come from a doctor, whereas, you know, alcohol, because it comes from a bartender, isn't. And I feel like if there was a bit of a perspective shift about that, and you could apply these things, even though alcohol is toxic, please do not get me wrong, there's a lot of other issues.
Alcoholism on this channel.
But again, like, it is a mechanism to cope. And if that's what's preventing you from doing something, you know, TW, but like harming yourself in a more profound way, then take it, like, you know, and take that like little win and, you know, legitimize that, right? Like that's something that I've learned in therapy is like taking like small steps is better than no steps, and it's certainly better than backsliding, and backsliding a little bit is better than backsliding a lot. So like having a relapse if you're trying to quit smoking or drinking or whatever, it's not useful to beat yourself up about it at all, ever.
It's true.
And
it'll only make it worse. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And for a lot of people, drinking is the least bad thing that they do to themselves in terms of substances, right? So, yeah.
35 going on 65 said, my dad drinks a bottle of whiskey every night. I didn't drink as a teen or until I was about 28. I was always worried I was predisposed to alcoholism. And
Zoinks.
I completely understand where you're coming from, because that is something me and my cousin speak about this all the time, that we are like hyper focused on how much alcohol consumption that we have. Like we're very controlled about it. We only have a little bit on certain social occasions. Actually, she and I find that like the only two people that we actually start to like drink heavily around is each other, just because it's like kind of like a safe space. But yeah, it's definitely something that like when your whole family is like alcoholics, you just think about it all the time. You're like, every substance you use, you're like, oh my god, am I becoming dependent on this? Am I using this too much?
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's a balance, right? Because, like, you don't want to go too far. Like, sure, if you want to stay abstinent forever because you fear being an alcoholic, that's fine, I guess. As long as you're not, like, living in constant fear of it. That, you know, like, it's kind of whatever works. It's a very individualized sort of situation, but... Yeah, alcoholism runs in a lot of people's families. It sucks. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, 35. Yeah. My dad doesn't drink a whole lot, luckily. He never has. Sheesh. He actually doesn't really like drinking. I don't know why, but I obviously don't mind it. But I've just recently passed 60 days of not drinking, which is probably the longest I've gone since I started drinking alcohol at the ripe old age of 12.
It's young.
Pretty young, yeah. I went to the hospital, too. Got my stomach pumped.
Oh, yeah, that story.
Yeah. Don't do that.
I was the casual age of 18 in university.
Wow.
Told you, I lived a sheltered childhood.
I'm a connoisseur of the fine bourbon now. I'm not afraid like I was. I feel in control and never really lost that sense. And that's great. And I mean, like, that self-autonomy and confidence in your own kind of, like, ability to self-manage is, I think, something that is very useful day to day. It's very useful in managing substance use, and it's also something that I think people work on in therapy too, right? And it's about the stories that you tell yourself, and, like, if you decide in your head, you know, I drink but I'm not a problem drinker, and that's the story that you truly believe and is accurate, I think that alignment kind of matters. And, like, narrative therapy is a thing that I was kind of, like, segueing to on purpose. Talks about that, like, acting in alignment with your values and not creating your own kind of mental dissonance, or mental dissonance means, like, discomfort, not creating that for yourself. So if you tell yourself, I'm not an alcoholic, but you act like an alcoholic, and you know, but you tell yourself you're not, like, that dissonance.
I was gonna say, I feel like there is, I consider you to be a very self-aware person. So when you are maybe using a substance more than you should, I think you know that.
Absolutely.
But I do not, again, people in my family, I know so many people that lack really strong self-awareness.
Sure, yeah.
And, like, were in denial about their substance abuse or their just general behaviors for years. Like, years and years. I think that, I don't know, I feel like the story that they're telling themselves is that they are, like, it's a cognitive bias of, like, I'm good, everything's fine, I have this under control, until you know, they hit, like, a not necessarily a rock bottom moment, but something similar. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like, that is part of what narrative therapy specifically relies on, is bringing that to the forefront. Like, you know, people that go to therapy usually acknowledge that something is wrong, or are being forced to acknowledge it, right? Like, you're not walking in there just, like, you randomly walked into a store and they're like, sit down, you're getting narrative therapy, sorry, sucks to suck. I just wanted to buy a shirt, isn't this the Gap? Like,
it's like you're working at a shoe store and you're like in narrative therapy now.
Get back in the back room, we have no size 10s, but you're sitting the fuck down anyway. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Good. Everything in moderation. A lot of what I've learned about the success I've had in life was driven by the fear of becoming my father. I didn't make the connection until therapy. Yeah. A lot of people are afraid. Girls are afraid of becoming their mother. Guys are afraid of becoming their father. It is a pretty common trope. I know that's very gendered, you know, kind of sexist way to look at it, but honestly, that's the world conditioned people to think like that in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's even a trope in, like, television, you know? Like, it's a societal pervasive thing, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, I think it's definitely telling. Like, I feel like it runs true in, like, my family, absolutely. Like, when I told my mom that she was acting like my grandmother, her, like, face turned ashen, like... She was, like, not okay with that.
It's true. Well, and, like, I was talking to Carly earlier, and she sent me a screenshot of her mom messaging her something. She's like, this is why I am the way that I am. And I'm like, it wasn't even anything bad. It was just, like, being curious about, like, something gossipy or whatever. Anyways, it wasn't, like, a bad thing. And she wasn't saying it like, this is why. She was like, ha ha ha, I am my mother. And I'm like, yep, this is true. In that way you are. But in any event. It's a character on TV rather often. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Like Monica from Friends, if you're the Friends age, definitely had that. Which I am. Ha ha ha.
I was gonna say, I am missing all of the pop culture references right now.
You've seen Friends.
Like half an episode.
Half of an episode ever in your life?
Like half of an episode here, half of an episode there. I've seen the...
Like, you know that if I pulled up the people, you would know their names.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've seen it enough. The pivot scene and the couch or the stairwell.
Just never think that character on TV could be a real person, let alone you. Yeah, I mean, like, TV's problematic in its portrayal of therapy, too, and I think that's a lot of the reason why people won't go, because they always portray it as, you know, shitty therapy, with the exception of one of my favorite movies ever, Good Will Hunting. does such a good job of portraying bad therapy and good therapy, because he goes through a bunch of shitty therapists before he gets to Robin Williams, and then Robin Williams is actually a good therapist, and like there's so much acknowledgement of the therapeutic alliance, like the relationship between the therapist and the person, and it shows how a bad fit is like not useful. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people discontinue therapy, is like you're just not driving, you know.
I agree with that.
It's also a fantastic movie. That's my comfort movie.
I know you said, I think you've said that on stream.
Have
actually. Yeah, maybe. I was gonna say, I feel like in addition to the way therapy is portrayed, the amount of therapists that sleep with their clients on TV, like there would be no more therapists.
Yeah, you can't do that.
They would not be licensed. Also, like, I just think of like, how insane are you to be like, yeah, like this person who is like crying in my office on a regular basis, I definitely want to sleep with them. Like, I just can't wrap my brain around that. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
They're telling me about their parental trauma, and it's like, yeah, just like full like horny. Like, could you imagine?
I really can't. I really, really can't. Here's a tissue. I also couldn't imagine being a therapist, because I would also be like, here's a tissue. So here's another weird angle. My individual therapist became our couples therapist, and it's been rather productive. I don't know that that's weird. I think that that's useful, because they know you and your coping mechanisms quite well. If anything, that would be great if they were individual therapists to both of you and your couples therapist.
I was gonna say, do you find that they side with you more 35 going on 65 just because they know you and they know your perspective?
They shouldn't be siding with anybody if they're a good therapist.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's the only issue I can imagine in that situation. But I feel like that's actually really valuable.
Just weird in that it wasn't the plan. I mean, there is a thing in therapy in general that therapists don't usually want you to be working with another therapist, because you might be from different schools. Like someone might be doing CBT and then the other person is doing like DBT or something, you know what I mean? Like it might be they might have competing stuff.
Did you just make up DBT, or is that
dialectical behavioral therapy?
I was like, what's DBT again?
No, DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. No bias or anything from what I can feel. But that's good. Okay. That's good. That's ideal. That's how it should be. But yeah, DBT, dialectic DBZ, Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Goku. What?
Just put your fingers on mine.
Sure. Am I doing it right?
Yeah, there you go. Right? I'm gonna look at the screen. There we go. Okay.
Over 9,000. Therapy. Yeah, dialectical. Oh.
Due
la leche. Welcome. Kamehame therapy.
Yeah, I don't know the reference outside of just the meme. So.
I know over 9,000. It's Putin. Putin? Vladimir Putin?
Vladimir Pudding.
Heike would eat. No, I'm kidding.
What? You probably don't remember this. I obviously was raised in the States, so there was this meme, not even a meme, it was Fox News, where they took a picture of like Putin riding a horse with his like shirt off, and then they like juxtaposed it with like Obama riding a bicycle with a helmet on, and they were like, look how like weak our president was. Blah, blah, blah. Honestly, that one picture of Putin, I was like, he could get it, which is fucking disgusting, but at the same time,
In Soviet Russia, bear rides you. I don't even know where the bear came from.
Bear rides you.
Bear rides you, yes. Yeah. Oh, I was talking about dialectical behavioral therapy.
You were.
Yeah. Anyways. It's used in a lot of the personality disorder therapies, and the kind of main tenet of it is that two things can be true at once. And it has like kind of 4 mandates to it. So it's mindfulness, emotional regulation, interpersonal relationships, and I have to look at my notes for the 4th one. Distress tolerance. So like recognizing when you're like getting like triggered or activated or whatever, and why you're acting the way that you're acting is like a big part of that. Dictators are the worst. We do not put dictators on the daddy list, no ma'am. No, he's not going on the fucking daddy list.
Come on now.
But yeah. DBT talks about like acknowledging like why you're in the situation you're in. So it's a lot of like ownership and stuff. So you have to be careful in DBT to not get into like the everything's my fault, self-blame kind of category, but acknowledging like the chain of events that got you to a certain place. Like, oh, I just had a fight with my partner, and it's, you know, why did I have a fight with my partner? Well, they didn't put away the dishes. Why did that bother me so much? Well, because I had a shit day at work. Why did you have a shit day at work? Well, I woke up late. Why'd you wake up late? Because you stayed up super late the night before and you have bad sleep hygiene. And you kind of circle back to like, how could I have, at what points in that chain could I intervene? And, you know, then try to train yourself to do that.
I kind of like, that's actually really good. I feel like that.
It's super effective for me.
Yeah.
But especially like the distress tolerance thing. Mindfulness was something that I was super resistant to for literally years. Like years and years and years.
I used it for falling asleep, but I can't do it during the day. Like if I'm having anxious thoughts in the middle of the day, I cannot do a mindfulness task because it's just too overwhelming. But if I'm trying to be like, okay, let me clear my mind so I can go to sleep, Leaves on a Stream puts me right to sleep, honestly.
I have never actually tried to formally implement it during a time of distress, but I've been practicing it now, I think for like 6 months. I've been doing it almost daily, sometimes just for a minute, a literal minute, tops. Sometimes I just give myself a check mark for the day on my streak for just thinking about maybe doing mindfulness. And I'm fucking fine with that.
I love that.
No, you got to give yourself small snaps, right?
Yeah,
you know, because it's if I break the streak, then I get really defeatist. So if I just think about it that day, I'm like, awesome, check mark. And I'm also more likely to like do it if I think about it, right? So
true.
like incentivizing just like that little bit definitely helps me. But my point was, I never am sitting in a distressing situation and I'm like, time to think about the stream with the leaves. Like, no.
Yeah.
I do it in off time to kind of like flex that muscle. And then I've noticed that I'm just better by proxy at dealing with that stuff without like overtly trying to.
Okay.
And it could also just be because my mental health is better anyway. But realistically, I don't care. The end result is that I'm less awful than I used to be. So, like, yay, I guess. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
I just want to commend this dictator's joke and how far this is going. I really appreciate this.
Okay, taters. I love tater tots. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Potatoes. I was super anxious before meeting on Thursday.
Potatoes. Oh, you missed the Loader reference, ma'am.
Loda?
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I don't rings.
It's taters. What are taters, precious? Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Oh.
Okay, never mind.
I don't.
One of these days, I'm gonna just show you the Lord of the Rings.
I've
just so you can.
People have tried to, and I watched it, and
I can't.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sam really was. Yeah, he carried that bitch up a volcano. He was clearly his therapist.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's nice. It's sweet. That's good. I'm okay with people liking Lord of the Rings. I don't. You know. I know there's good stuff in it.
But there's just so many cultural references there. Anyways, super anxious before a meeting on Thursday, and I knew better, but couldn't get myself away from the feeling. I was well prepared, but concerned how it might go. You want to know something, actually? There is some evidence, and I have no citations for you, but somewhere on the internet, I think this is actual science, that if you label an anxious feeling, especially when it comes to public speaking, presentations, those types of things, as excitement, and you tell yourself, I'm not anxious, I'm excited, I'm not anxious, I'm excited, it actually works to create positive feelings and to make you feel better about that. It's actually one of the most effective ways to deal with anxiety, apparently, when it comes to object-oriented anxiety. Yeah. Well,
especially like anxiety, excitement, any type of arousal, including like arousal, is all the same thing. It's an activation of your parasympathetic nervous system. So how you're labeling it
just sympathetic.
What did I say?
You said para.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, she's right. Your sympathetic nervous system. Anyways, which then activates the parasympathetic later. So technically, I wasn't wrong. No, I was. I was super wrong. It's your sympathetic nervous system. Good catch. Anyways, but like it's just how you're labeling it. So that makes total sense to me that would work, right? You could also be like, I'm not anxious. I'm just horny. I'm not anxious. I'm just horny. I wouldn't recommend it for public speaking, but like, whatever makes you not anxious. But it, like theoretically, I guess I'm just trying to like make a point.
I was gonna say, I feel like doing a presentation with a boner is like gonna make it worse for you ultimately. Like,
yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But if you want to do it, then fucking whatever. Kind of like it's not a problem, it's an opportunity for solutions, I guess, but a little bit less like corporate synergy nomenclature than that, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that sounded like an HR version of that.
Solution-oriented. Nightmare fuel.
Use clues, where you been, baby?
Yeah, hey. Welcome
Nightmare
back.
Fuel.
Yeah. Honestly, a little bit, yeah.
Did you hear corporate synergy and you were like, fuck that shit, I'm out?
Let's circle back.
Piggybacking off of that thought.
Yeah. I think we're just, really, I can't even think of them because I hate them so much.
Sean, just tell us some shit that Josh says in a meeting and then you can,
Zoink.
just bring it full circle right now.
Oh my god, bring it full circle. Working and trying to manage the poor work Wi-Fi. Oh.
Poor work Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Oh. You're watching us at work?
Yeah, he was watching us driving one time.
NSFW.
Well, I mean, whatever. I think he maybe watches on headphones. This wasn't really public speaking. It was more like being on the hook for 30 grand mistake that wasn't ours, but was being directed to us. I forgot my therapist is on vacay. Oh, so you don't have therapy tonight, Risto? Welcome back. This can be your therapy, kind of. We're not therapists. We're not therapists.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. We are not therapy.
We are not licensed therapists.
But talking to people about your thing can be therapeutic. That's true.
That's true. Misery loves company.
But I'll be here till
dinner. The term
dinner.
commiseration is a thing.
Yeah. Co-miseration. Yeah, being in a high stakes situation is like really difficult, especially like when you get defensive about it because you have to be defensive because someone's coming for your weave. Like, it is hard to not be defensive in that situation, and then being defensive is like kind of incriminating in a way, because you only act defensive if you have something to defend, kind of thing, if there's like a truth to it. To defend from.
Say that again?
I don't fucking know. Don't listen to me.
You said something about snatching a weave, and that's all I could think about. I was just like...
Listen, the drag race references are strong here.
Mm-hmm.
I say the same thing to my viewers on Coffee Talks. Skin in the game. Yeah, skin in the game. That's exactly it. But I don't know. Having to disappoint people, that's partially distress tolerance. A lot of people are conflict avoiders because they don't like guilt, they don't like shame, and that sort of stuff, right? So like they won't, they'll be yes people, or they'll like, that's where ghosting comes from, is wanting to not have to be the one to do rejection.
That is probably like the worst thing that millennial and I guess Zoomer culture now has like created is ghosting. It actually is. It's on like. Unfortunately, I have done it. I am a perpetrator of the ghost technique.
At what point do you think it's ghosting? Like, do you have to have, like, been talking for a while? Or if it, like, just peters out, is that ghosting?
I feel like for me, I'm like, I'm going to schedule something. And then I'm going to, like, be like, oh, sorry, I can't make it. Can we reschedule? And then I'm going to, like, reschedule 3 times and then not try to schedule again. Okay. If I don't want to see them in person. I feel like that is kind of the technique that I go with.
But it's also...
Or went with.
Honestly, ghosting in some cases is protective, because remember that one guy that I was just straight up honest with, and then he, like, tore into me? He was a psychopath.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like for women, like, there's obviously a lot of fuckboys that, like, ghost people, too. There's a lot of normal people who also ghost people, but, like, I feel like for women, it's almost the protective mechanism in the same way that you're, like, I'm going to be nice to this weird guy at the bar is, like, a protective mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Well, if all anyone needs to do is follow the Instagram Beam Me Up Soft Boy, and you will see what we mean. You know, because like if a girl, typically, again, there's exceptions. It's not always a girl rejecting a guy, but you know, girls will be like, I'm not interested, and they'll be like, fuck you, I wasn't interested in your saggy ass titty bitch life anyway. You know, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
relax, like, you know, and I know it's just through a screen, but like things matter. Like it's
a little traumatizing.
Yeah, a little traumatizing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind disappointing people. It's part of my job lately, and I mean that's good. That's literally sour grapes. No, of course it is, but that happens. That straight up happens. We've been at bars before. I think we told the story on one of the streams, and like, remember the dude that came and bought us beer, and then you went to the bathroom. We were like, Alicia, please get rid of him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then when we did, we had to get him kicked out because he was just like, what the fuck, and like got like aggro.
So essentially, what happened is he was like hitting on me, and Alicia was like also being like Alicia is the meaner of the two of us when we go out. That's just the tea.
I don't even think you need to say when we go out. Might just be the end of the sentence. Alicia is meaner than him.
I was gonna say she has quite a decent amount of years on me, and she puts up with way less bullshit. Essentially, I'm not trying to put age.
Could have said experience.
Sorry.
Could have said experience.
Sorry. And
I'm kidding.
And she just has a way lower tolerance threshold for that fucking for garbage. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be like really nice, and like if the guy will start talking to me, and then I'll be like, okay, I need to go, and I'm like, get rid of him. And she'll try, and even actually when she was actually being really, really nice to this dude, and was just like, we're good, like we're not trying to like hang out anymore, sorry. And he was just like being like, he was like almost called you a bitch, I think. Like he definitely did. He was being super aggro with you, and then the bartenders were like, okay, buddy, you gotta get out of here.
Well, I had to like signal Dave to come over and be like, is there a fucking problem?
He needed therapy. That
man needed therapy. Well, okay, so what happened? I remember this like vaguely. I had been like, listen, we were just here because like we wanted to like talk, like she's one of my best friends, blah, 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 because this is while Layla was in the bathroom, and I'm like, so like, you know, we really appreciate the beer, but like, you know, this was meant to be like you and I like having a chat, so we're not really like looking to talk to other people. And then like you were saying, that kind of continued when you came out, and he was like, I bought you beer, you owe me, like you get what, you're just using me for alcohol. And I'm like, you offered to buy us a beer, or I think he even said these are on me when we already had beer. Like we didn't even get consent in that situation, which is grimy. I mean, you could just say, I'd like to pay for these, is that okay? And it's like the same fucking message. But
yeah, I think actually I was sitting between you two, and you and I were trying to have a conversation. He kept trying to pull my attention, and I was like, you were like, oh, like we're talking, like can you stop trying to like interrupt? And then he started fighting with you, and then I was like, you need to be nice to my friend, like stop being mean to her, like what are you trying to do here, like what is your goal that you're trying to accomplish?
You know what, we might even be conflating multiple times because it's happened more than fucking once.
It's been like more than once. Yeah, honestly.
Meanie. I am meanie. A transaction in his mind, gross. It's true, it happens so fucking much, which is why like people will be like, oh, can I buy you a drink? And I'll be like, sure, you can purchase whatever you want for me, but you know, what's your goal here, pal? That's almost exactly verbatim what I say and how I say it.
Actually, when I was in university, I was super hyper aware of that type, like I was like very like on guard. I would always pay for half of my date. Like if we were going to dinner or something like that, I was always Dutch. Yeah, I would pay half of my meal because I didn't want him to have expectations about anything. Like, yeah.
This water bottle.
Okay.
Unless tech support wants to come and fill my water bottle. SVP.
Tech support is still mind-boggled that you and I get hit on in bars together. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, men will hit on anything with eyeballs, really. Legs. You don't even really need eyeballs. I love you, thank you very much, you're the best.
What is that little look he's giving?
I don't know, we got a bit of side-eye from tech.
Yeah, tech support's giving us side-eye.
We love you, tech support.
Love you.
Yeah, so anyways, therapies. Go to therapy. Don't be like that guy. Buy girls drinks if they allow you. Offer them the option to say no. Be respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a list that my therapist sent me, my previous therapist, about the 10 major forms of distorted thinking.
Yeah.
Which I honestly love to go through because I'm always like,
it me.
So, wow, why are all of these me?
Yeah.
Tech support, thirst support, emotional support. High key. Yeah. We're the stars, and he is our, not agent. What is it called? What is it?
Yeah, our agent, I guess. Our talent manager.
You're our talent manager?
He's talent manager, husband, Mountie,
Cameo. Talent manager requires talent to manage.
Oh, someone's salty. What did we do to you?
Salty, come here.
I'm joking.
He's gonna get in trouble.
He's giving us side eye that he told us we don't have talent. How dare he? What?
I mean, he's clearly wrong. Look at us. Talent. This is what talent looks like, all right? Talented at being a mess. That's my talent.
Yeah.
Time to unionize. Manager. Shots fired.
I should pull out my pin that says I love my union.
Yeah. Not my husband. No, I'm kidding. You love your husband. Obviously. It's obviously a joke. We wouldn't be able to do this without Sean. Sean rules.
Yeah, honestly, we would not know. We would be like, what the fuck is going on if Sean wasn't here?
Yeah.
He sets up all of this with the hour ahead of the stream, and then we're like, okay. Well, then we just sit down. We've done like maybe minimal research that week, and then we're just like, okay, now we're just gonna talk at the screen for an hour, 3 hours.
Minimal research about the topics sometimes, but we also are literal PhDs and we put on a lot of work about this knowledge. So
this is true.
We're not just waltzing in here to like flip hair and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I do like to flip my hair when it's down, which I never wear my hair down anymore. It's just a change.
Has your body temperature gone up?
Because I'm in menopause.
No. What?
No,
are you?
I'm not in menopause. I'm not that old. No, I guess I like it better. I don't know. Now that the pieces have grown out and it all stays in with the exception of my little sideburn curls that I do on purpose. I don't know if this even looks good, but I kind of like it.
It does. It looks cute.
Right? I love it.
I know. I always pull my bangs out a little bit extra.
I used to pull my bangs out, but now it just gets too fluffy. Anyways,
this is the hair in my face.
You have nice hair. Your hair's super fucking long now too. Remember when you cut it like short? They did so much research about fetishes. Don't let them fool you. We did. We do research.
Yeah,
we truly do.
I stared down at my phone for pretty much the entire stream last week, looking at all my research on fetishes.
No, I thought last stream was like super fucking fun. I like a salacious topic. I think we should talk about dreams one day. You know? Mm-hmm. Like dream science.
We could put it into a sleep in dreams all together.
Do so. What else do you guys like talking about? Like this was a suggestion too to talk about therapy. I can't remember whose it was, but forgot all about that fetish episode. I'll have to dig up the VOD. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you weren't here for, were you, Muse? That was just the last episode, so it's only like 2 VODs in because I did a stream on Friday and then it was the one previous, so you're not that behind. But I think it's worth watching. It was really fun to do.
I had a lot of fun. Yeah. I wore a sleep mask for half of it. It was a whole thing. Yeah. We busted out some handcuffs.
And we didn't use them.
We didn't use
them.
They
were around. Pardon me.
They were just set decoration.
Yeah. Much like my glowing mic. Anyways, yeah. It's true. That's why I got my mic, because it's cute and it glows. And I love it. Anyways, talk about the cognitive distortions.
Shall we talk about the 10 major forms of, they're also referred to as cognitive distortions, 10 major forms of distorted thinking that cognitive behavioral therapy, they try to combat through their, therapy methods. Mm-hmm. So the first one is all or nothing thinking. Yeah. So people who use this type of thought process tend to see things in only black or white categories. For example, a situation that falls just short of perfect will be viewed as an utter loss. Yeah. Another example is a man on a diet who eats a spoonful of ice cream and scolds himself for blowing his diet.
See, this is what I was talking about with the take the little wins and that sort of thing. So if you break your streak, if you have a glass of wine or if you have it's also why cheat days are problematic and stuff like that in diet culture, which is like a whole other thing that I won't even get into. But like, you know, this sort of stuff, I guess, is in other therapies is kind of what I'm trying to say. But yeah.
Yeah. So if he breaks his diet as a means to console himself, he then gorges the entire container of ice cream.
Which is also not fucking problematic realistically. If you want to fucking eat the whole thing of ice cream, you shouldn't have shame about it. I think that you should never have shame about what you eat.
I would say an entire pint of ice cream, that's a lot of, especially if it's...
I mean, if you're doing it every day and it's making you feel ill and you're like, sure, doing things for... A lot of it is to do with the reason behind doing it and like why you're feeling like that and that sort of thing, right? But I still don't think that... I think to beat yourself up for eating the whole thing is all or nothing thinking. I think that in and of itself is a cognitive distortion, because if you shouldn't beat yourself up for a spoonful, surely you shouldn't beat yourself up for a pint either.
Well, I think that there's healthy serving size. I'm thinking of like a Ben and Jerry's or a Haagen-Dazs pint, which is quite dense, and you're eating an entire pint of that. I feel like that goes above and beyond the serving size significantly. I just think it's...
Who cares though?
It's just a lot.
It is a lot. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying just don't beat up on yourself if you do.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. Like give yourself some fucking grace, you know? Yeah. Because it's when you conceptualize your actions as all good or all bad. Like when you try and categorize anything in your life as good or bad, you know, maybe it wasn't ideal. But that's a cognitive framing thing too that CBT uses, where people talk about not doing the should thing.
The should statements.
Should statements. If you can cut anything from your vocabulary, try and notice when you say, oh, I should have done this. And what I've been taught is to reframe it as, it would have been ideal if I did this, but I didn't. So then it takes the shame and the guilt away from it a little bit, or distances you from that. And then it also kind of sets you up to be like, it would have been ideal if I did this, but I didn't. And that's okay, kind of thing, you know?
I think if we go back to diet culture, there's actually some interesting conversations about how especially women who are like, you know, on, you know, diet or low calorie, they essentially try to like make these compromises about what they are trying to eat. So for instance, they'll eat like a sweet rice cake instead of something that they're actually... I'm like, if you just had like the 3 spoonfuls of ice cream that you're actually craving, you would satisfy that need. And like, again, it's not a matter of all or nothing, but it's like give yourself a little bit of what you want, and then like call it, and you're like, okay, I'm fine, I can do this. You know what I mean? It's not...
The gray area between the all or nothing thinking is where, you know, ideally, like realistically, that is where everything lands. Things are like, that's why statistical distributions are on a bell curve. It's just like, that's reality. Things don't typically happen at extremes, because then it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? But I like the coffee flavored one, full circle to shitting oneself. Yeah, especially if you're lactose intolerant. Zoinks. I could crush a Haagen-Dazs right now. Boy, howdy, that sounds good.
Damn.
Yeah. All or nothing thinking.
Honestly, coffee flavored yogurt.
Coffee flavored Greek yogurt. That was the first time I ever had Greek yogurt. Before that, I had only had like fucking the dribbly bullshit.
Like normal yogurt?
Normal yogurt. Now, if I see normal yogurt, I'm like, is this milk? God, what is this? No, seriously, Adrian and I, when
Greek yogurt is very it's like very viscous. Yeah.
Especially if you get the low fat ones, it's somehow the lower fat makes it even thicker. I don't know how, but if you get like the 0 or the 2%, I like it I want to make a snowman out of my fucking Greek yogurt. I want it to hold its fucking own. I love it. So if I have like, I don't know, normal yogurt, like it may as well be like kefir for me.
Yeah.
Like it's so liquidy. It's like a yop. You remember yops? Or Go-Gurt?
Oh, yeah.
Is she talking about Go-Gurt? Oh, I'm talking about yops, because Go-Gurts came like in Happy Meals after I was too old to have Happy Meals, which is never, because I have Happy Meals.
Is yop just like a Yoplait Go-Gurt?
Yeah, I think so. Let's pull up a yop. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Yop.
You know,
right
know what
click.
a Go-Gurt is.
Yep. I vividly remember this. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, do they not? They still make these, don't
Yeah, they sure fucking do. That's why I'm like, how do you not know what I'm talking about? Look at this. Help build strong bones.
Like,
that's big milk trying to get to you.
I'm dead. I was gonna say, you know, they actually add calcium to milk to make it a good source of calcium.
Yeah.
I think that's insane. Isn't that wild?
They also add vitamin D to it. That's fine. A bottle of yogurt.
It's like a yogurt drink. It's like
it's like kefir. It really is like
Koreans,
kefir.
Like, you know, they
Isn't kefir
I think it's
a Muslim thing? Not a Muslim thing, like an Arab thing.
Yeah, it's like a Middle Eastern. Yeah, I think so.
I like kefir. It's good.
Yeah, it's tasty.
I can only ever find the mango flavor though, and I don't like that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly.
What that is?
I think it's like Mongolian version of kefir. I could be wrong. I'm pulling that out of my ass.
You make your yogurt at home? Who are you, a crunchy mom?
Let's dig in a little deeper. How?
What? Where are you buying your, like, yogurt bacteria?
Yeah, yogurt. You'd have to have quite the vessel space. Yeah. I don't have the vessel space.
What?
How very cultured of you. Love that pun.
That was great. Okay, we love that.
I like immediately after with the rat too. Like, reminds me of mango lassi.
I love a good mango lassi.
I don't know what mango lassi is.
It's if you go to pretty much Indian. It's like a mango milkshake almost.
Oh, okay,
but it's yogurt instead of ice cream.
Right.
It's delicious.
Heat milk in a pot until it's almost too hot to touch. Then take it off the heat and spoon in actual yogurt and stir. How thick can you get it?
You said spoon in actual yogurt. That's like using the word in the definition. You're just putting yogurt into...
Thank you. Oh, so no, but it's kind of like a sourdough starter, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay. How thick does it get? I need to know about the thickness.
Oh, yeah, you can make yogurt with your Instant Pot.
I don't have one of those. They take up too much fucking space.
Yeah,
they're
small ones. They have like...
There's also just yogurt from the store.
That's true. That's true.
Which is, okay, here's the other thing though I like about this is it's not as wasteful because the plastic. If I could buy yogurt, like if I could just go to the yogurt, like...
Just get a bag.
Like a Slurpee machine, but for yogurt.
They sell it in like big, like bags that you can just like, it has a little spout on it.
I get 2 kilograms of yogurt at a time.
In a bag?
No, in like a big container. I love yogurt. I was making kombucha for a while. That's wild. The SCOBY? Don't like that. Depends how much you add and how long you let it set in the nature of your culture. See, that's already... I do enough science in my day-to-day life. I don't need to be doing chemistry in my fucking fridge. You know?
Oh my god.
What?
You're like, I'm a scientist in my day job. I don't want to do it at night at home.
It's true. What's wrong with that? I don't understand.
I just think it's hilarious.
Okay. I mean,
okay.
I am pretty funny.
More distorted thinking. Overgeneralization.
Yeah.
People who use this thought process generally view a single negative event as a pattern of defeat by using words such as always or never to describe the event. For example, a depressed lawyer became very upset when he noticed it was raining one Sunday afternoon. He told himself, just my luck. It's always raining on my days off.
Which I was just writing is confirmation bias. That's a cognitive flaw that people tend to do just in general. Like, and it's a lot behind stereotypes too, is like what drives that, you know, like anything that you can think of that's a problematic racial stereotype is usually from overgeneralization, and you know, just as problematic as it is societally, it's problematic using that in your day-to-day life kind of thing. Like this is one that if Carly were ever to watch my VODs or anything like that, I'm going to talk about her. She talks about like she never had success dating, and I'm like, no one does until you, like, every relationship you have fails until the one that doesn't. That's why they call it the one kind of thing. And like there is problems with that kind of like conceptualization of dating and stuff like that, don't get me wrong, but like literally everybody sucks at dating most of the time. You know what I mean? Like it's you know, the generalization is not helpful.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, like, I feel like people who are serial monogamists also have their issues. Like, I feel like, like, well, I don't even consider you to be a serial monogamist.
Not
I feel
anymore.
like you have some, like, some on and off relationships and stuff like that.
Since you've met me, yeah.
This is true, but I feel like there are people who, you know, go from, like, a 1-year relationship to a, like, 5-year relationship, and, like, you know, there's some healing that needs to happen there. There's some therapy that needs to happen there because they jump from one to another, right? So...
Some PhD told me about anthrax poisoning and I came to an abrupt end. Is that supposed to be a pun?
I'm not sure.
I really just said that the other day, but I live in Washington State and it literally always rains. That was an anthrax joke.
It actually does rain in Washington State a lot, you're not wrong.
It's true. I mean, if you live in the Pacific Coast, it's just, yeah. No, it's legit. She scared me. Oh, God. They pasteurize it commercially. Yeah, when there's like a whole trend about like drinking unpasteurized milk.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
They did a whole bit on it on Schitt's Creek.
They did. I forgot. That was funny.
It was funny.
Super funny. But yeah, there's tons of cognitive biases in like day-to-day life. And I think that lots of them are like this. Cognitive distortions is maybe just even another word for cognitive bias. You're done already.
With the second drink,
yeah. How many do you usually do in a stream?
1 per hour.
Huh? Are you on? You're on track.
I'm on track.
You're on track. Good. Yeah.
Anyways,
reliable.
Stop.
It's true. You're incredibly reliable.
I was gonna say overgeneralization. I think reminds me of the fact that
Thank you.
these are like the always and never statements. They like not necessarily a couples therapist, but they tell you to never say when you're fighting with your partner. You should never say you always or you never, right? You should always talk in like...
Don't they even say that you shouldn't use you statements? You should use like I statements?
Exactly. But if you're going to say like, you didn't do the dishes, you shouldn't say you never do the dishes because you're overgeneralizing. And to then say, I feel like this applies obviously to yourself as well. Like you can't say, oh, I never do this, I always do this, blah, blah, blah. Like that's...
Yeah.
It's a form of all or nothing thinking.
I just don't date. Between my issues and my ex-wife, I haven't dated in like 10 years and have remained celibate. Modern dating terrifies me. Man, you gotta get out there if you want to. Some people call that a vol cell. I'm currently a vol cell. I'm off the dating market. You know? Painfully sick. It's true.
Temporarily.
Yeah? Still true though.
It's true.
Yeah. But I mean like... not doing things because you're afraid, you know? That's sometimes you got to take the leap. It's easier to say that than it is to do that, though.
Yeah, I can't.
You're married.
Yeah, I can't talk. Honestly, actually, Sean is my first like long-term relationship too. Like I had like a terrible relationship in university that was like very. Like, it was, like, we didn't really ever, like, define it, and then it went on for, like, 3 years undefined, and then I hated him, and then I met Sean, and that was pretty much it.
Not sure you can take the painfully single title when you're dating by choice. I sure as fuck can. Watch me. I do it all the time. I am painfully single, and I am also doing it on purpose. Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you be hungry if you're not eating on purpose? Of fucking course you can.
Hey, friggin' fork.
Doesn't necessarily make sense if I could like automatically do it, but you know, friggin' fork. I think friggin' fork has been around before a long time ago though. Yeah. Welcome back.
Friggin' fork is family.
Oh, welcome back, friggin' fork.
We're talking about being painfully single.
Yeah, which. I mean, the reason that I'm voluntarily single is because dating was fucking terrible. So, you know what I mean? That's why it's painful. I'm doing a cleanse.
You're doing a life cleanse. You're doing a vice cleanse in the form of men.
No drinking, no drugs, no dating.
No drinking and drugs.
It's not no men. It's no... I used to say no dicks, no dykes, no drinking, no drugs.
This is true. This is true.
But I didn't want to be derogatory using the D word. And I just wanted to keep the alliteration, so I went dating. In and out in case of little niece.
Disua, no,
you need therapy. Disua, welcome. I mean, I do need therapy. I have a relationship dry spell for the last, like, 5 years. Yeah, and I mean, like, let's all collectively acknowledge that generalizing our failures in dating to a failure of ourselves is just not true. That's a cognitive distortion. And we are all dateable, wonderful people.
Yeah, I agree.
The way I look at it, I struggle enough with my own happiness, and I just don't feel it's fair to a potential partner to have to deal with my issues and insecurities with myself. I've spent my life pleasing others, taking time to please myself for once. I mean, and honestly, very similar sort of like perspective from the reason that I decided to step away from it, because I was like, I'm dating for the wrong reasons. I'm dating because I want external validation from someone else, and because I am afraid to be alone. So I need to prove myself that being alone doesn't suck so much as I think it does. And I'm actually kind of like hella enjoying it. Like, granted, like I'm not as lonely as I thought I was, but your girl's thirsty, and that is a problem that you can kind of solve alone, but it's not as good as solving it with friend. You know.
Sorry, this is distracting me. So OKDK just matched with a girl named Elena, and he wants to come up with a good pun opener. I agree. Elena, I hardly know her, is a good one, because then you can follow it with, but I'd like to get to know her.
It's really nice.
It was really nice to have a partner when I broke myself.
I think 35 going on 65 had a motor vehicle accident, I want to say.
Oh, I see.
Some serious spinal or head trauma, I believe. We had a little head trauma talk at last stream, I think.
Yeah, Risto Rock, I honestly, I understand. Like, I'm currently suffering from like anxious depression, and it's one of those things where you kind of go through these ups and downs, and like you don't want to put that on your partner or put that on anybody else. It's not easy to like deal with, so I understand.
Friggin' fork with the good pun. Yeah, you know what? It depends on your personality. I probably wouldn't get the pun. I wouldn't have got either of those puns. I would have been like, what? You know? I'd be confused. But I'm also an idiot sometimes.
Helmet. Disua, are you just trying to troll people? Like, what the hell, bro? He just said a helmet, question mark.
What's helmet? Oh, I broke my neck and skull, etc. Oh, I didn't see that part. Want to be attention seeking about it. Yeah, no, we've talked about this before, and helmets are important if you're going to be on a bike and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes there's just situations where you can't be wearing a helmet. And also, you know, what if you're just crossing the street and you slip on some ice and hit your head? Or if you're like me, you hit your head just going down some stairs, walking to work, you know?
Yeah, that was...
Shit happens. That's why they're called accidents. You know,
every time I go down those stairs now, I hold the railing because
I was holding the railing, but it's because it was an ice storm in fucking Montreal, motherfucker. Still no helmet. Feel better soon. I mean, you can't wear a helmet all the time, man. Helmets aren't practical all the time. You wear them in certain situations, right?
Unless you're like one of those Down syndrome babies.
I don't think people with Down syndrome wear helmets all the time.
The babies to shape their little skulls. Isn't that a thing?
I don't think it's Down syndrome. I think that's like a skull malformation that's unrelated to trisomy 21. I'm not 100% sure. It could be. But yeah, I know the babies you're talking about. I think it's like there's like the skull plates haven't quite fused yet. Is the situation.
Oh, I see.
Whereas trisomy 21 is as the 21th chromosome has a triplicate.
Yeah, but I think that leads to skull malformations after birth, like right after birth.
That might be it.
Anyways.
But I think it happens outside of, like, I don't know.
I'm just going to look this up while you...
Why do the babies wear the little helmet? Hard hats don't often have chin straps in Canada. That's true.
Wait,
well, and
really?
also, like, again, you can have accidents in situations where you just normally wouldn't be wearing a helmet. It's happened to me. It's, you know... Positional skull deformity, craniosynostosis. Yeah. Do all babies need helmet therapy? When do babies start wearing helmets? Torticollis. Tortellini. Why would you be wearing a hard hat? Why would you be wearing a helmet in your everyday life? I mean, there is some argument for the fact that, like, that would be pretty useful. Because, like, you know, if you're going to wear it on a bike, you're only, like, a little bit taller on a bike than you are just, like, walking around as a human. But you are going at a stronger, like, a longer velocity kind of thing. But also, your skull is really good at protecting you. Case in point, 35 going on 65, still around. Thanks, skull.
Yeah.
Thanks, spinal column, for protecting me spinal cord. And, you know, props. Also, why would you... Yeah, I'm getting... My mother needed a helmet after her craniectomy. Help! She was missing roughly a quarter of her skull. Zoinks! A quarter?
Damn.
Of her skull? Holy! Usually they would saw it out. Here's the thing. Actually, they saw it out and then they let it fuse back up because it will do that. It'll grow back.
Did she have, like, brain swelling or something? Oh, somebody got...
Whoop. Yo.
Nope. Somebody got banned. Zoe Scoop.
Ban him. Yeah, we don't tolerate...
Trolls.
Yeah, well, and also, like, 35 going on 65 is an important part of this community. You've been around a long time, and we protect our own.
That was Get a Grip as our mod. He definitely pulled the ban on.
She had a series of strokes and needed emergency surgery. I'm sorry to hear about that, Muse. That blows. Yeah. And thank God for modern medicine figuring that out. Oh, no ban. Whatever. Yeah, be respectful. We protect our people. Be nice, you know? And no gang ups. In any event, yeah. I think it's cool that modern medicine is, like, able to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
I was going to say, that's, like, another type of therapy that we aren't necessarily talking about today, but physical therapy and rehabilitation for people who have those, or who have, like, any type of neurological surgery or anything like that.
Or even electroshock therapy is, like, a pretty extreme version of things for treatment-resistant depression. Ketamine therapy is, like, super hot. They initially put the skull flap back, but she had infection issues and it was stored in her stomach until she felt like going through the surgery again. Wow. I was really nervous. They were talking about drilling a hole in my skull to deal with the pressure. See, again, if it's a small enough hole, I think they do just let it fuse back together. But I think, yeah, because it'll knit. It'll knit the bone regrowth.
If you have swelling, they obviously have to open up your skull to, like, let that brain swelling like subside.
To puncture the meninges.
Yeah.
But the neurosurgeon I had was badass. I never needed surgery, but he was my biggest ally in the hospital. That's important. The therapeutic alliance is true in medicine and in therapy, right? Like, it's, you know, he cussed a nurse out for not reading the orders on my chart. Yeah, I mean, man.
Damn.
Yeah, it's good to have someone on your side. Definitely. What's another cognitive bias?
Mental filter. People who think with a mental filter often single out a solitary negative event and dwell on it, that's familiar, so that their entire perception of reality becomes darkened. An example of this thought process is a young woman who receives many positive comments about a presentation she had given to a group of colleagues at work. One colleague had made a slightly critical comment, and she obsessed for days about how this colleague hated her work. She only dwelled on the negative and ignored all the positive feedback she had received.
It's true. People are much more likely to, you know, remember negative things than positive things because they're a threat to survival, right? So you encode them differently. The valence is what we call that.
Going back to my take shots at the patriarchy a couple videos ago, that I still think that I did that presentation terribly to this day. I had so many students and so many people tell me I did a great job, but because I had this one guy who took up my entire question period after my presentation, just, like, pretty much
like aggro.
Attempted to shit on me the whole time. Like, I was like, I clearly didn't explain myself well. I did, like, a terrible job, blah, blah, blah. Like, I actually, and I'm like, I'm telling myself, I'm like, these people who saw this presentation are just giving me, like, a pity. Oh, you did, like, a great job, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're just trying to, like, make me feel better about it. But, yeah. Even though I, like, worked hard on it and practiced it and shit. Like,
I'm sure it was good. I've seen you present. I wasn't at that one, but yeah. My dad had a shunt put in a year ago. Poor chap. He has hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is a thing. Yeah. I'm definitely my own worst critic. Most people are.
yeah.
Most people are. I'll fight the patriarchy any day, but I won't fight the patrician. Any Discworld fans? I haven't read Discworld, but I've heard it's quite good. BRB, gotta finish up supper, then gonna chow down. I'll be back shortly. See you soon. Maybe that guy was just a bad person. He was a bad person. Haha, Pratchett, Terry Pratchett has a really good anecdote about why being poor begets being poor more, because he like talks about shoes as like the thing. It's like a really interesting little blurb. Maybe I'll pull it up for like next stream or something. I guess I could pull it up now too, but I knew I liked you. I've read them all. Vimes Boots Theory. Yeah.
Discworld? What is Discworld?
It's like a fantasy novel, but it's like very like satirical. Like it's lots of symbolism and stuff like that about like, you know, patriarchy and capitalism and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, let's just find it. I'm gonna pull it up. We'll share it with the non-knowers. No, probably.
Me.
Well, there might be other non-knowers lurking around. Who's it? Vimes?
Vimes.
Shoe Theory.
Oh, I know about this theory.
You've seen it on probably memes. Like that's where I've most recently seen it. But look at that turtle. Cool. Fuck off, cookies. Oh, for the love of sweet Jesus. Oh my god. I'm over it. I'm leaving it. Fuck this.
Wait, just scroll now. Just it's fine now.
The wealthy stay wealthy. The theory uses the example of how a pair of good boots that would last for years and keep heat dry cost $50. However, Vimes earned $38 a month, so he was only able to afford $10 boots, which would last a season or two before leaking and needing to be replaced. Those wealthy enough to afford $50 boots would therefore have to spend this amount just once over a 10-year period, while those without would in long run spend hundreds of dollars on boots and still have wet feet, and thus probably work less good and stuff like that as well, and just be more prone to illness and stuff like that. Anyways, so that's that. That's the theory. I like cookies. I love cookies. I've been destroying boxes of Celebration cookies. Like just on
celebration cookies.
Celebration cookies? The ones with the little biscuits. It's like a biscuit, chocolate dipped biscuit.
Oh,
kind of like a Prince cookie, but not. It's only dipped on one side, and it's like a buttermilk biscuit.
Oh, you love a good Prince roll over here.
Do you guys have any Prince cookies? I would eat one right now.
We have to go downstairs to get them.
We're gonna need a Discworld episode one day. Girl, I have too much reading to do to read a whole fucking ass novel series, and aren't there like 30 of them or something? Granny Weatherwax. I like that name. I'm so glad there are other Pratchett fans here. I like cookies. I think we attract a certain crowd of people, like the crowd of people that have stuck around. Like obviously, you know, people circle through the thing and like are like, am I gonna stick around? You're like halfway off the camera. Why are you so far away?
Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe I just need to point it.
Just angle it towards me in our chaotic bookcase.
Oh, right. You don't like the bookcase being in it.
It's okay.
It's a completely fine bookcase. What's chaotic about it? Everything is in an organized little thing.
It's just shit sticking out on top. It's fine.
Pokemon.
Yeah, there's
people love
all
Pokemon.
Sean's like little Pokemon
They're
figurines that I got him for Christmas.
Granny Weatherwax and the witches are awesome. Is the master of getting out near Alicia on tangents. That's true. It's true.
Tea.
Honestly, it doesn't take much. Doesn't take much. I'll go on a tangent about going on tangents if you want. I was at a networking event and they had warm, moist cookies and it made my week. I haven't had a fresh made cookie in a minute.
You know what they sell? These little like the Pillsbury cookie dough rolls downstairs, and I just like literally like slice up like it's like a little log, and like just fresh out the oven. The slaps. It's so good, dude.
She has ADHD. I do not.
She has other mental illnesses, but not ADHD.
Lots of them. Yeah, maybe I do. No, I don't. I super don't. I definitely had more trouble focusing after my concussion. I'm just old. And a little bit fucked up, so. For being real. Cookies and milk are the best. I made chocolate chip cookies. Sister-in-law liked them out of the oven. Brother put them in the freezer to eat later.
Friggin' work. Jack is the weirdest human I've ever met in my entire life. He wants them out the freezer? You like frozen cookies?
I like frozen chocolate. I put my mini eggs the other day in the freezer. I really liked it.
But do you like frozen cookies?
Okay, I'm gonna...
No, you said you like them out the oven like every other normal
No,
human.
here's the thing. I don't really like cookies that much. I like biscuits. I don't know. Have you ever seen me like get super jacked on a cookie? No. I get jacked on a potato chip. Like, I don't hate them. It's just like I'm not... My mom never really made cookies.
You like a biscuit. What do you mean like a biscuit? You're talking about...
Chalky Bicky.
So you mean like a British biscuit, which is just a cookie by another name?
No, I mean like a... Yeah, I mean it
like
is...
Like a wafer or something or other.
No, not a wafer. Like, it's got to be like a, like a Biscoff.
Okay.
Little Bicky.
Yeah.
I love a Bicky. Anyways, I'm only 35. I'm not old. Like, he's super weird. Ice cream sandwiches are frozen cookies with ice cream. I love the circle ones that are like a giant Oreo. Girl, oh my god, they're so good.
Or the ones that are just like a chocolate chip cookie with the ice cream. They do be slapping.
Honestly, over both of those, I would just take a nice like vanilla Haagen-Dazs, like a vanilla bean ice cream. And even that, I would choose something else over that too. Like, people will ask if I want ice cream with my pie, and I'll be like, don't get melted ice cream on my pie. You're going to ruin the pastry crust. The pastry crust needs to be crunchy and flaky.
Your whole existence is a hot take. I can't.
That's such a read, but it's so true.
Anyways.
Your whole existence is a hot take. It's not wrong. Barbecue pizza? So a cookie, except they call it a biscuit. Ooh, Muscu's that is a hot take. Barbecue pizza. Like barbecue chicken pizza, like where the sauce, instead of it being a red sauce, is barbecue sauce.
I love a barbecue chicken pizza. Thin crust barbecue chicken pizza from Domino's. Every day.
Yeah, I'm down.
The thin crust, it just crunches the right way.
Yeah, I like pizza. It's hard to, there's not a lot of pizza that I don't like.
Lots of judgment, but no hot takes. Where the Matt?
Wait, are you that? The lots of judgment, but no hot takes?
He's friggin' Fork is telling me that I have lots of judgment, but no. I think he's asking for some of your hot takes.
For some of yours. It's at Layla.
I don't know.
Clarify.
I don't know. I'm not the one that's... Anyways.
One of my first jobs was at a factory that made them. The cookies are crunchy before being stored for a month or two.
Like ice cream sandwich cookies?
So when I worked at Dairy Queen, I used to take, Dairy Queen ice cream cakes have like the cookie layer. They just come in like flat discs of that, and like you definitely are not allowed to just have those. But I would
just eat them straight up.
I'd be like, berry cookie. Less zesty than Neuro, Alicia agreed. I am meaner. We did determine that.
I am the solid, reliable friend. That's
I said that
chiller
too.
and slightly more boring, and you're the
I don't know
fun,
about boring.
exciting, eccentric friend with the hot takes. Guys, this girl watched. This is the one that gets me. She watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, the highest Oscar-winning movie in history.
Did it win more than Titanic?
Yes.
Really?
And didn't like it.
That's fine.
That's a hot take. That is the hottest of hot takes.
It was really, really hyped up, and it's not my taste. That's fine. Chrono Triggers, what's a good reason to subscribe here? Well, let me tell you, zesty takes, first of all. Second of all, we talk about neuroscience.
Yeah.
Third of all,
we're currently on a tangent, but we were talking about therapy before previously.
Yeah, well, last episode we talked about fetishes and kink, so if that's what you're into, that's okay. Where are we? Layla is the calmer presence and Alicia is chaos contained. Barely. Hot take science, babes. Oh, thank you, friggin' Fork. Welcome to the chat. Why not just listen a little bit and decide for yourself? Not boring. That's why we watch you over the internet from 9,000 kilometers away. Exactly. The rules don't say I can't ask questions. Oh, you can ask questions all you want. We love questions. We love
questions.
If anything, that's like something that we thrive on when people ask like, You know, like we've had people ask about foot fetishes. That was one that people were curious about. This whole episode being about therapies was someone's suggestion last time, like different types of therapy.
Speaking of questions, what are more forms of distorted thinking that we were talking about? Cognitive distortions.
See, getting us back on track. All reliable over here.
So another form of distorted thinking is discounting the positive.
Yeah.
So people who often think this way, I feel like it's like two that are similar and then it's like two more that are similar.
Yeah.
People who often think this way reject positive experiences by insisting they are not legitimate gains. For example, these people will do a good job on a project, but then tell themselves that they should have done better or that anyone could have done just as well.
Or they just got lucky or something like that is like a big trope. Especially, you want to know who's a little bit like that? That I notice quite a bit is Ellery. Like, if you try and give her positive feedback, she'll be like, no, it's just, you know, like, oh, I'm just doing this, and, like, really, like, turn it down a lot. And I'm just like, no, you fucking rule. Yeah. And I don't know. It is hard to take positive feedback. When I'm in therapy and my therapist is like, you did a good job. Like, look how far you've come. I cry immediately. Just immediately. Aww. Can't take the positive feedback. I'm just like, love? Ugh. Anyways, that's why I'm chaotic.
I think that's something that you have to, like, when you get to the level of academia that we're in, we, like, function so heavily on not necessarily, like, critical feedback, but, like, critique and, like, making things better and improving yourself. So for somebody to be like, oh, you're doing a great job, I'm proud of you, you're like, okay, that's great. And then you move on to, like, what can I fix and what can I improve? And it's just, like, this little, it's, like, the tiniest baby hit of dopamine, and then you just, like, move on.
Yeah. Wonder what I've found helps that for me is like giving positive feedback. The more I give positive feedback, the more I am able to receive it. Actually, we had a really rough day on Friday. Thursday or Friday, and my students, was it Friday?
Because you talked about it on stream.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, actually, yeah, that's right.
You actually didn't talk about what happened.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
It's nothing personal. It's just some stuff you can't talk about research-wise because it's ongoing research and like the nature of what we do and stuff like that. But my students messaged me afterwards, or I messaged them and said, like, thanks to both of you for the hard work today and for being patient and tolerant when things didn't go well. Having you there to help out was really valuable. And they said, I had a long day, but definitely learned a lot. I have to say, I really admire your ethics and your attitude in the lab. We're lucky to have you as a mentor. And I wasn't saying anything to elicit a compliment or anything like that, but like that reciprocal respect and like a generation of like positive regard that's like from a true place, you know? Anyways, so there's a place where only subscribers can vote on or submit suggestion. Yeah, go on the Discord. That's a nice text you sent. I think it's so important to acknowledge people's like abilities and stuff like that.
And I completely agree. I feel like somebody said this to me at one point, and I have really taken it to heart, is that like there are so many people in academia who are high achieving, and there's so few that are just kind. You know what I mean? And I feel like acknowledging, giving credit where credit is due is so important. Just being understanding, and like up to a point, like sometimes people, you know, they fall and they stumble and they stumble and they stumble and they fail to meet expectations, but like trying to be understanding as much as you possibly can is like extremely valuable, and I feel like it really helps.
It breeds loyalty for one.
100%. And I think that like building the community and like I work with so many undergraduate students, and I'm just like, I need to like foster their interest in research by being like, I don't want to say mothering, but like nurturing, you know what I mean? And like making sure that they are, you know, their needs are met and everything is set up for them to succeed. And then like they actually have a fun experience and they enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah, and then when things fall apart too, which they can in a minor way or a major way, then you know that you can rely on these people, and it's not like, you know, rats scattering or cockroaches scattering when you turn on a light, right? Like, my best example is like in my previous lab when that literally got shut down because the PI was fucking around in a whole bunch of different ways. I was so tight with Adrian, who's my former roommate and one of my best friends in the world. That is a testament to how close we became because she was a research assistant and we became friends, and there was a whole group of us, and the lab literally got shut down and everybody's projects came to a complete halt. Some people were about to finish their degrees or middle of it or whatever. And we all came together and we all figured it out, and everybody ended up actually coming out better for it, which is insane. But yeah, anyways, I'm missing all this in the chat.
Friggin' Ford. My sister-in-law is a huge fan of reality TV, Vanderpump Rules, Love Island, Love is Blind. I think it is mind-numbing and terrible. Any research to back this up to get me out of a courtesy watch. There is some evidence that people who enjoy reality TV actually partake in what is referred to as Schadenfreude, which is finding pleasure in other people's suffering. So yeah, so that you can say that you're like, I am gonna step away from my sadist mentality and not participate in that.
Or you could just tell her, like, listen, I don't want to. Is there something else that we can watch that both of us would enjoy? Don't know if you tried that, but I say that because I have to really consider and make concerted efforts to share nice comments like that. I back, trust me, I back. I am always have fun and rarely serious, but that softer side is critical at work with the people who work for me. Haha, welcome back. You banned me. I think you just got timed out. Yeah, you get on a timeout. That's what happens if you're not respecting the rules. It hurt just as much. I mean, it's gonna be okay. You know?
Do you like the term disaster porn or Schadenfreude more when addressing the topic of reality TV? I feel like those are not synonymous.
Well, disaster porn is quite hyperbolic, first of all.
100%.
It's also fetishizing it a little bit by putting it in, like, the kind of porn category. I know it's meant to be tongue-in-cheek putting it in the porn category, but, like, to, you know, put it in that kind of, like, context, I think is probably problematic. And, like,
I was gonna say friggin' fork. I feel like also, so for instance, my sisters and my mom all really follow Vanderpump Rules, one of the ones that he listed on there, and really enjoy it. I think there's, like, if your life is quite mundane, which most of ours are, I would say, there's a certain interest in the drama. It's like people who watch soap operas. There's drama, there's things happening, there's things that are, you know, wild and beyond the scope of what goes on in our normal lives. So if you live, like, a very normal, well-adjusted life, it's actually, I feel like, maybe normal to be interested in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Vanderpump Rules or whatever.
Also, like, if it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Whatever. I watch Big Brother and Survivor. That's trash. It's utter trash. And I have, like, strong opinions about film and television. I'm kind of a snob, but not too much of a snob to just sometimes watch trash. Per my life to be drama-free and mundane. Yeah, exactly. For real, though, what is Vanderpump Rules? Like a shoe?
Vanderpump Rules. Okay, so there's a character, I think she actually just left the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, named Lisa Vanderpump. And this show started when I was in high school, and I used to watch it as well.
I've never seen it.
And she had a restaurant, and essentially it follows the lives of her waiters and waitresses. And they're all, like, aspiring actors and actresses, but they all just got involved in reality TV, essentially. And they are chaotic. And it recently has come into pop culture because of the fact that there was, like, an affair that happened. So now it's, like, all over everybody's, like, Twitter streams and stuff. But... yeah, there was, like, a cheating scandal on that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know that Trixie Mattel is friends with Lisa Vanderpump.
Really? Okay. Nice. Yeah, she's apparently, like, she always, like, sponsors, like, a float for, like, LA Pride and stuff. Yeah. So she's, like, a big proponent of gay rights.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, like, it's a gendered thing a little bit, too. Is, like, absolutely. A lot of...
There's a reason it's all on Bravo.
Yeah. Well, and, like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, even my dad and, like, people that are generally not super problematic will be like, I don't get why chicks love this. And I'm just like, listen, you guys like explosions and cars and shit, too. It's fine. Like, we can all like our stuff. And, like, I would rather watch nothing for the rest of time than watch Steven Seagal on my screen ever fucking again. I'm over it. And, like, I know that it's going to make just a riot probably here. But, like... it's okay to just not like the same things as people and, like, to just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy, you know?
I haven't seen a single Fast and Furious movie. in totality. Like, I've seen bits and pieces of some of them, but yeah. Wait, is reality TV only popular if there's super big drama? Popular as in, like, when I say popular, I mean, like, you're seeing it in, like, a Twitter trend. If you had any power on the world stage, how do you address the problem of anti-educational movements as they pop up occasionally in the world due to cultural norms being challenged?
What do you mean anti-educational movements? Like people trying to ban sex education in the States and stuff like that?
No, I think just, like, like, teacher. Like, in the States is, like, a big thing. Like, there's a lot of anti-teacher movements.
Anti-teacher?
Yeah.
What do they want you to do? Homeschool?
No, like, people talking about, like, oh, schools are liberalizing our children.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And literally, like, they're like, oh, we talked about empathy. And then we talked about, oh, yeah, like, how do we have empathy for somebody who has 2 moms? And then they're like, oh, it's pushing the gay agenda. Like, they genuinely believe that school and being, like, exposed to people with different experiences is, like, yeah, not necessarily, like, grooming, but, like, is, like, pushing the liberal agenda.
I mean, it kind of is, but that's okay. You know? Pushing an appropriate agenda.
Yeah,
like,
book banning. Actually, the county that me and Get a Grip grew up in made national news for book banning that they were doing for like books that like had just like they were talking about like stories with gay teens. Like it was just like an experience.
I went to Catholic school. They couldn't even have Catcher in the Rye.
I bet. Yeah.
Like I this is so it's funny because to me I'm like this is mundane. This is just what happens. But it's not. It's because I've normalized it, which is problematic. But
Get a Grip. They weren't literally banning books. The superintendent said, "Oh, we should burn books." Like he made a reference to burning books. Because if they were actually burning books, I think people would.
They ban books here all the time.
Burn.
I know.
Threatening to burn.
But I'm saying like for 35 going on 65 saying Americans, it's not just Americans. Where I grew up in Alberta, 100%. Yeah. All of the Catholic schools that I went to.
Alberta is America. It's American at its heart.
I bet you they do it here too. The Catholic school districts, the Catholics won't let you have anything that's gay. They won't let you have anything with swear words. They won't let you have anything like Lord of the Flies. Couldn't have it. But they'll teach you Romeo and Juliet. Underage fucking getting married before you have sex bullshit.
Yeah, absolute
zoinks.
I feel like it's just that we're so removed from that it's like, oh, it's fine now. But stuff that was made in the past, like, 200 years is, like, normal.
Yeah. Anyways, what do I think about that? If we had power on the world stage, how would you address that? Oh, boy. This is why I'm not a politician, because I don't know how one would do that. I
would put a lot of money towards educational funding, and I would remove right-to-work states so that teachers could unionize. And at least in the States. I don't know about the world stage. That's all I know about is the American
I didn't even
setting.
know that there was the anti-union movement was so strong there.
That's why the U.S. is a capitalist hellscape, is because they literally have states where it is illegal to unionize.
Teachers do tend to unionize here. Request for qualifying examples.
Book bannings, idea removal from the internet, removal of evidence.
Here's the thing. People can think what they want and teach their kids what they want outside of schools and stuff like that. So I feel like the best thing to do is like I don't know. This is just me coming off the cuff of my brain, so I might step in it here, but like realistically, the best thing to do is make people like that not feel like they're having even more rights taken away or like to anger them kind of thing. So I feel like if you want to do that and you don't want your things to be taught in school, go make your own school. Go make your own school district. You know what I mean? And like here we have the Catholic school board and the public school board, and they're separate and they determine what goes in curricula and stuff like that. So it's not Alberta. This is the one that I know the most about, of course. But So if you want your kid to go to the school where they don't teach you about gay, put them in Catholic school or in non-public school stream. And in public school, you learn about evolution. I didn't get taught about evolution in school. Zoinks. Because
Really?
I was in Catholic school. Yeah.
But I feel like
And
maybe it will continue to be a minority, but you're just breeding a radicalized group that way.
potentially, but what's the alternative? I'm just thinking like in a reality, of course, like we would abolish it and stuff like that. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't radicalize me in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
You know what I
but
mean?
you have openness to experience.
Yeah.
As a personality characteristic, you have,
Mhm.
I don't think I'm outing you because you've said this, but like on stream, but like you're a bisexual woman, like you've literally, like you have life experience. I just feel like any straight white man that comes from a conservative background who then goes to an extremely conservative school who like doesn't learn about evolution, doesn't learn about the fact that like black people have rights,
Yeah.
indigenous people have rights, is just going to continue down that path, right? Like I feel like school is very formative.
Of course it is. But also, so it's still a small minority. A small minority should also be avoided, right? Because one person can do a lot of damage, as we've learned, and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, like, yeah, it's just like the lesser of the evils, I guess. Because what are you going to do? Not let them do school, and then everybody rises up in a, seize the capital kind of thing? Like, I don't know. I don't think that there's a way to solve that wouldn't make it worse in trying to solve it, other than just to try and compartmentalize. Or
It was a small minority on January 6th.
Yeah, that's
and
what
they
I'm
still
saying.
did damage. Like I
That's
just
what
don't
I'm
know. I
saying.
just don't know how to.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how to.
maybe making it so that you have to teach like a critical thinking course, like deeply. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that you like teach people how to see thought biases and cognitive traps and
making a
discourse.
mandatory course on propaganda and how to identify it.
Yup, that would be amazing.
That actually would be super valuable, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, near lots of parents. Hold on. Whoa, we're behind. Teachers are unionized. Unionizing is legal, but there's a bunch of restriction. There's no closed shops. Lots of parents in 2023 don't want to be the main teaching role. They want to blame the school systems. Yeah, the U.S. has right to work states where it's illegal to unionize, or at least for most professions. Right to work states have the laws that make it unlawful to require employees to join a union or pay union dues.
Right to work states have laws that make it, so...
Yeah, but that's disincentivizing it. That's de facto making it illegal.
I'm literally, like... It is... There's also a lot of red tape around making unions. Like, they've not made it illegal, but they've made it extremely difficult to make them, essentially.
Well, and here, the solution to that, stop letting people have fucking guns.
Also,
Jesus.
I spoke to my mother-in-law's neighbor, and, like, the amount of propaganda around... He was like, oh, I don't want to be unionized, blah, 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 blah. And I was, like, coming from...
The rhetoric.
I currently, there's a lot of rhetoric. Like, I live in Montreal, and Canada specifically, but Quebec also, like, sorry, Canada in general, but Quebec specifically is, like, known for having unions for, like, every job. Like, I'm a teaching assistant, which is, like, a very transient job, and we are unionized.
Yeah.
And, like...
The French are super revolutionary, too. Like,
exactly.
It's a
like,
French
it is just, like, commonplace here because... they support your rights and they fight on your behalf if you have some sort of issue or blah blah blah. So like the fact that he was like, oh, I don't want to be part of a union because of these like things that really made no sense. He's like, oh, my pay is going to be limited and blah blah blah. And I was like,
it's kind of like paying for healthcare as part of your thing, or like your employment insurance. Like
you can fight for more rights if you're like a group and you can strike for rights and whatever. Anyway, so
do you believe rapid change, aka revolution, is inevitable if government fails to keep up with the needs of the population? Well, history tells us that is generally the case, but what revolution looks like now and what it looked like back then, I think, are two different things. And I don't think that we'll see a revolution in the same way that we expect it to look. Hot take.
Average American has a negative view of unions. This is true. Yeah.
Because the unions were a racketeering thing. There was bad unions at one point, so they took that, and people that are anti-union for the wrong reasons took that, just much like in examples of failed communism and stuff like that, and they're like, see, this is what you want, it failed, we tried that, and like, you know, that sort of ideal behind it, right? Like they latch onto that one example, cognitive distortion, and take that as ground truth and a rule that everything is going to follow, right?
And they also like associate it with like communist thinking, which is just like a massive no-no in the States to this day.
The riskies. How do you feel about modern age? Oh wait, hold on.
I don't know what the fuck that means. How do you feel about modern age slacktivism?
Collective bargaining is so important. Our largest unions were tied to the mob.
Yes, collective bargaining. We stand.
Yeah. What was his name? They made a movie recently with Al Pacino played him. The guy with the Teamsters and stuff like that. That's why a lot of people don't like unions. How do you feel? Yeah, slacktivism, is that what, just like lazily posting stuff and doing like vanity and virtue signaling about activism? Yeah. Activism on Slack?
Yeah, that's
better dead than red. Oh my.
Supporting political or social cause by means of decision or online characterizes involving very little effort or commitment. You know,
it's better than nothing.
That's kind of how I was gonna say. I was like, exposure. You know, like, not all of us have the privilege of being able to march and strike and protest in the way that we want
or
to.
Put money somewhere, you know?
And I was going to say, and like activism in all forms, I think is valuable. And I understand that like sharing a post on Facebook or Twitter is like not true activism, but I think that exposure is the lowest form, and at least it's something.
Yeah. The bar is on the fucking floor, right? So like,
true.
I mean, we're not trying to give out gold stars for slacktivism, but it's still a type of activism, so I'll take it over nothing.
Yeah.
I'll take it over nothing. And like, if nothing else, it's also a foot in the door, because if you see people doing their virtue signaling, you know, black square on, you know, George Floyd's murder time, then you know that at least they care enough about how people perceive them to do the thing. And then if you take that and you can use that, and I've helped my father become more woke by talking about these things, because, you know, he's like, well, of course I'm not racist. I'm like, yeah, well, that's true, but, you know, here's some, like, you can still be biased in your mind, right? Whether you like it or not, because we're socialized in that way.
And I was gonna say, like, I think people who share on social media are at least willing to have conversations with their loved ones. Like, my grandfather, before he passed, I talked to him about how the way he talked about Indigenous people in Canada was not okay. And I was like, you can't say, quote unquote, those crazy natives. That's not okay. You can't say that. Because, and then I like talked about oppression, and I talked about racism, and I had these conversations with him, and he, you know, he was like 80 some years old, but at the same time, the fact that he sat there and listened to me is like, you're at least attempting to make those connections and change somebody's mind. So I think there's still value in it.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing too is like telling people like why their thoughts could be harmful to others. Lots of people like truly don't want to hurt other people. Like very rare is there a sociopath that's like, I want to be a dickhead all the time. You know, usually that's like a defense mechanism and stuff like that. So like when my dad is, you know, he's just an easy example because he's a boomer and that sort of thing, but like wants to try and be good, and he'll say things like he used the R word like last year, I think was the last time he did, but and I intellectually different. I don't even know what the appropriate terminology is now, because they changed it to intellectually disabled, and then that was not okay, and it was
differently able.
Neurodivergent, I think, too, when we're talking about like mental capacities. In any event, and I was like, you know, my sister will always say like, you can't say that, And my dad will be like, why? I just, like, jokingly will be like, I just did, kind of thing. And I'm like, ooh, okay, true. You can say it, and maybe you don't mean it meanly, but think about, like, the impact that has. And, like, the fact that that's not someone that you identify with. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a person that you think you are, but you're acting like it without even knowing it. Because you don't see the harm that you're causing. But, like, you know, here's how that can be harmful, right?
They're talking about...
My mom was casually homophobic too until I had to explain, no, that's not cool. Yeah, I mean, I think my family's come around quite a bit around sexuality and stuff like that, but I think that it still makes a lot of my family uncomfortable. I developed software and ChatGPT sourced claims from MTU and MIT as well as the Smithsonian record. How about you? Dang, I became schooled. Sorry, I was just impressed in using Monty Python, the Holy Grail reference. Wise in the ways of laws. I forgot about that. I love Monty Python. Yeah. Another cognitive. We're only halfway through the list, right?
The nights that say knee.
Nee.
Knee.
She's a witch. Burn her. I have a playlist called Burn Her. That's my witchy tracks. It's mostly Stevie Nicks.
I was literally about to say, was it just like...
Is it just Fleetwood Mac on repeat? Yeah, a little bit. Actually, what is it? Well, you pull that thing
Yeah.
up. I'll pull that up.
Okay, some more cognitive distortions. Jumping to conclusions. People who use this thought process interpret things negatively when there are no facts to support that conclusion. These people might arbitrarily decide that others are reacting negatively to them or insist they will fail a test before they even walk into the classroom.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
High key.
Yeah. Which, in case you don't know, is when you actually end up... People want to be right subconsciously really bad. So if you tell yourself, like, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm really bad at math, you're going to be bad at math. And I am so guilty of that. Or, you know, you're like, oh, this relationship is going to fail. My relationships always fail. And then you kind of prove yourself right. And, you know, it's a predictable pattern. So people will do this self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Risto Rock just said, come back and getting called out. I always expect the worst. Yeah, dude, I can relate. I feel like this one maybe isn't as much me, but it's like the negative thinking, always focusing on the negative aspect is definitely... And I feel like these are all similar. They're just like subtly different, right? So...
It literally is all Fleetwood Mac. There's only Fleetwood Mac and one Florence and the Machine song.
Bro, shut up. I can't.
That's my witchy playlist.
Love
Burn
that.
her.
Burn her.
I mean, find me other witchy music and I'll add it, you know. Open to recommendations.
Try some like Janae Aiko. Maybe that might be up here. It might be a little R&B.
I know her, but that's more like sexy time music to me.
Okay.
It's when I cast a different kind of spell. Not lately. Painfully signal.
How many days? 60 some days?
Since I...
Yeah. You said?
No, that's drinking.
It's longer?
No, it's less long, because remember I was dating that dude. The barber. February 14th.
Yeah. I was like, I don't remember the barber, but I do remember
when I left a party really sad because a boy didn't want to see me anymore. Fucking boys.
Okay. Magnification. People who use the magnification thought process exaggerate the importance of their problems and shortcomings. They also tend to minimize the importance of their desirable qualities. This is called the binocular trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an example of when I would do that.
I tell myself I'm pretty bossy. Naggy bossy. Naggy.
Yeah. I don't know who you are. Maybe me talking about how I'm not good at dating.
Is that one of your negative traits? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of me doing the magnification. I'm over.
I feel like you magnify how chaotic you are.
Magnifying
Yeah, it is.
Maybe lately I've been not very chaotic, but if we just look at the facts on the ground here, Layla.
No. You are a PhD student. You got your shit together for the most part. It's just like the personal life sometimes is a little rocky, but like you do have the ability to get your shit together, clearly.
I'm tenacious, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Persistent.
That's true. Do you think men are more or less grateful being single than women? Grateful being single? Who's grateful being single? I mean, plenty of people probably are.
Yeah.
I just don't identify
I feel like
with that.
women get out of, like, relationships and they're like, I need to be single for a while. And I feel like men are like, I need someone to take care of me.
I think men glorify the single life a little bit more as like a
Tea.
bachelor lifestyle because like culturally that's been like ingrained, and like women when they're single are sad single women.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's two phenotypes for men though. I feel like there's the type, and then there's like the, this is gonna sound bad, but like the incel-y type that's like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm perpetually single, and it's because they also need therapy. But then there's like the ones who are like sexually active and who glorify single life.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the in-between to not be all or none thinking. But
Yeah.
those are, like, if we're painting in very broad strokes kind of thing, yeah. Astro Canuck evening.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome.
I was talking about you earlier, but I don't think it was on stream. I think it was just when we were prepping for stream. Remember how I was saying that I tuned into their stream and they do like space stuff?
Canadian astrophysicist?
Yeah. This is who I was talking about. Hey, Sean, can we get Astro Canuck a shout out, please? Eartha Rock, that's rough, man. At least you're in therapy, though. Good step in the right direction. Oh, I missed one. Sorry. I'm on my last week at my current job, and it makes me so nervous to change jobs, even though I'll be increasing my yearly income over 12 a year. I've never even considered rescinding my resignation. This is why I'm in therapy. Doing new things is difficult.
Scary.
It's scary. It's scary to think that you might not be good at something that you're used to being proficient at. That is something that is really, really easy to find aversive. Our brains crave routine because it's predictable, which means it's survivable, right? So anything that changes, even though it's something that's going to, it sounds like, give you more monetary security, it's also an ego threat like, and I don't mean ego like, I'm egotistical. I mean ego as in the terms
like your self-esteem.
Yeah, like your protective, mental mechanisms. But usually succeeding in that arena is also 50 times more rewarding. So I'm honestly grateful being single. I value relationships and have people who I'm close to, but I value having my alone time. Well, and if you're in a healthy relationship, you should be able to have your alone time too. But I mean, that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Welcome. Part of it stems from past fears as well. Hey, yo, friends. Good. That's so cool.
Chrono Triggers is just here with the questions today.
I guess so. That's so cool. Astrophysics is amazing, and I'm super interested. Oh my, I'm honored.
How much does food affect the human genome, in your opinion?
Genome?
Your genetics are set from birth, for the most part.
Yeah, epigenetics can change, and even that's a little bit controversial depending on who you ask, but your genes do not change. Collectively, the human genome might change over evolutionary time.
Yeah, you're talking generations, though.
Millions of years. Millions. Like,
food in the context of all substances and energy consumed. I don't know what that means. Food and energy. You're not talking about, like, crystals, right?
Cosmic energy.
Cosmic energy.
Yeah, I mean, I get my energy from Mercury and Gatorade.
35 going on 65 had shrimp stir fry for dinner.
That would kill me, but it sounds lovely.
Tasty.
So it goes back to previous conversation on being fearful of dating in this day and age. Yet again, working on it in therapy. Good for you, man. Therapy, all about it. I'm talking about joules. Yeah. Like joules of energy.
The amount of people who are single that I know that say, like, dating on the apps is actually the worst thing that they do. Like, they're like, there are no... I mostly talk to women.
I've got some screenshots. That's what we could do on stream. I talked about this. I forgot. We could rate Tinders. Oh, yeah. Once my dating spell is over, we're doing that, boys.
I was gonna say, I mostly talk to women, but they're like, the dating pool is ridiculous. Like, some of these bios and profiles, they're just like,
I have screenshots.
I like ass. Like, that's like their whole bio.
One of them that I shared, maybe you didn't see it, it was on my story, but this is like last year when I was still like swiping and stuff, and someone was just like, I want to build a nest. And I was like, I'm interested.
What kind of
What
nest?
kind? Exactly. What kind of nest?
Is it a bee's nest?
Well, does he mean
wasp?
a nest, like a cozy place to watch movies in your living room, or does this man mean I want to build a big bird nest?
A bird nest or a wasp's nest?
I'm interested nonetheless.
Mm-hmm, okay.
He wasn't attractive though, sadly.
Sad.
Talking about jewels. I don't know if you have been to Europe. The EU requires jewels to be listed on all foods instead of calories. Yeah, I've been to Europe several times, and realistically, jewels and calories are mathematically connected. Like they reference each other. They're proportional to each other in most cases. Like there's a little bit of stuff because of
well, like heat versus just like energy in general.
What's the name for your metabolism? Like metabolizing something does change a little bit, but like it's mincing to be like, oh, the difference between joules and calories, and like realistically, they're both pretty good for the purposes that we're using them for on food labels. Either is fine,
Yeah. Apparently, online dating peaked with MySpace.
Muse close, dating yourself there a little bit, but also
I never had a MySpace.
True. I was reading my diary the other day from like 2002 or whatever, and I was like talking to some dude on MySpace, and I remember this. The way that I was doing it, I was not on a computer, I was on a Wii that I connected to the internet, pointing at each letter like a remote, talking to this man on MySpace. I was very underage too. It was zoinks, right?
Amazing.
I like S equals donkey breeder. What?
Yeah, I said I like ass as some people's just entire profiles on social media or on dating apps. Excuse me.
I like ass. I tried dating apps because I do.
I know you do.
I tried dating apps because friends were like, "You need a GF." I'm a straight man and was catfished twice by older dudes. I don't need dating apps. LOL.
Jesus.
1 calories, 4 joules. Hence enjoying single life. Yeah, exactly. They're proportional. Oh God, why did you have to mimic my exact speech patterns? Did I? I don't know how you speak. How would I know? I like ass.
I like ass.
I too appreciate ass. You know what though?
Yeah. I feel
this is the ass age.
I was gonna say
we're in our ass era.
Kim Kardashian popularized the booty, like high key. Everybody do be liking some ass.
And great, because back before that, it was all about being like rail thin. Like heroin chic was an actual thing.
Yeah. Twiggy.
Just like that.
Like
ass is what's up, y'all. Look at all these emotes.
I'm loving the oh my God, this little cat bun. It's so cute.
Is that a robot butt? Is that an AT-AT with an ass? I can't see.
Yeah, that is a
and
robot twerking.
That would make sense because Astra Canuck has a whole bunch of space Lego and was building a Lego TIE Fighter on the last stream that I watched of theirs. So it was super cool. Anyways, their stream is really awesome. Anyways, check it out if you haven't already, guys. But yeah, what's this little...
Ass popularity correlates with bidet sales. You know what? Actually, this is going back to our fetish episode. We're just
yeah. Let's circle back.
Circling back. There is I feel like the popularity of butt-related sexual activity has increased or popularized, or maybe just talking about it has popularized. Pegging, just general anal, eating ass.
People are about eating ass.
It's like a thing now.
There's just memes.
Did you know that it's actually one of the top sources of like people developing hepatitis A and B though?
No, but I'm unshocked. I'm utterly unshocked.
It's actually wild.
Yeah, wash y'all asses.
But hence the popularity of bidets increasing.
Yeah?
Maybe a spurious relationship, but I feel like it's not.
I don't think it is. I think that's related.
Yeah.
You should invest in one. They're pretty great. I haven't eaten ass, but I do hear a lot about it.
Right?
People be talking about it all the time. And you know what? It's not for everybody on the giving or the receiving. Welcome back, Neilf. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it's not for everybody on the giving or the receiving end. And there's some art to it, for sure. You know, there's like... it's got to be consensual. Everybody's got to be really enthusiastic about it, you know, as they should be with all things sexual, but especially for things that are, you know, a little bit higher risk or more foreign or, you know, that sort of stuff. It's definitely
something. To quote my younger self, I don't enjoy wet butthole, so I just feel like not a vibe.
Don't enjoy wet butthole. I mean, sure. Diving into the chasm is an acquired taste. Literally. Yeah.
I was going to say that's one way to describe it.
Listen, okay, I think here's the other thing. If you are going down on someone that owns a vagina, you're already used to going in. I think the reason that girls don't like to do the doing in that situation is because we're used to operating on an outside thing if you're cis hetero and like all that kind of thing. But that's also like what porn feeds you. Like now they do a little bit more of the ass eating thing, but like a lot of stuff is about, you know, girls giving boys blowjobs, if we're being like, you know, stereotypically gender about it. But if you're
porn caters to men, so
yeah, but
straight men,
you know, if you're used to being up close and personal with things, like dicks stick out, you know, like dicks stick out. You don't need to like, there's no breathing. There is breathing issues, but like, you know what I mean? If you use your Dristan before, everything's fine. If you don't have a cold, it's fine. But
breathe through your nose.
There's different, you know, logistics that come with getting oral vaginally, anally, and dickily. Penally. Dickily. I don't know. Penilely? Whatever. Ayo. Keep it dry. Gotcha. The notes. Why did I have to be drinking when you said that? Sorry. Salty penis difference than corny bone. Yeah. Are thick telomeres sexy? I guess.
Bro,
long telomeres.
Our lab actually has done some research on that and how telomeres the length of the telomere can be related to like certain chronic illnesses.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the length of the dick.
No, the telomeres.
You wanna know what they say about guys with long telomeres, eh?
Long telomeres,
long life.
Long telomeres, long life.
I mean, that's just true. That's science.
Yeah.
People know that.
You age more slowly, and I think actually longer telomeres, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about this, are actually related to like higher prevalence of acne in your teenage years. But I might be wrong. I might need to check that. Might double check.
Are big noses important to you? No.
What does that mean?
What the fuck is a telomere? Telomere are the bits on the end of your chromosomes. And really what they are, I don't know. Probably amino acids or proteins or something like that.
So it's like a section of your genetic material that is used during mitosis. So over time it's broken and it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and that is actually the main thing that's connected to like aging and then ultimately death.
Well, and it has something to do with crossing over too. Don't they like touch tips a little bit? I think there's some tip touching.
Well, in mitosis that happens.
Yeah, but that's like, it's specifically telomeres. I think that's like doing some of the transfer stuff. Right?
Yeah, that's the ends that are touching and they break apart for mitosis.
Touching tips. What the pros said.
Since acne is a form of cancer.
You are correct. What? Is that true?
That feels...
I don't know if that's true.
Big nose is important. Okay, so I'm still stuck in the big noses.
Yeah, why are we talking about big noses?
Telomere are tied to cancer related to illnesses. Yes, because the less telomeres you have, the more likely you're going to have genetic mutations, which obviously cancer is a form of genetic mutation.
Yeah. Or like spontaneous mutation. It doesn't have to be genetic, right? Like it can be environmental as proven by Chernobyl.
Acne is a form of cancer. That is counterintuitive. That do not be making sense. Telomeres become afraid and tangled. Each time the cell divides, become slightly shorter. Eventually becomes so short that the cell can no longer divide successfully and the cell dies. Cancer, it divides more over time. It becomes very short. Something escape death by making more telomere enzyme, which prevents the telomeres from getting even shorter.
Why would the enzyme prevent it from being shorter? An enzyme breaks things down. I believe that, but I think that there's a missing link still. I am not a geneticist of any sort. Like I only know enough to be dangerous is the real truth. And like, we work in a genetics lab. I've had extensive training on this, and I still think that, like, you know, it's simple enough to be casual and like just throw things, you know, like, not saying that these things are not true, but yeah. I think that's an important thing, is to know the bounds of one's own knowledge. And this is the bounds of my knowledge. I don't know much more about telomeres. And University of Utah, as a cell begins to become cancerous, it divides more often as the telomeres become very short. Yeah.
I don't see how this relates to acne.
Yeah, so that's correlational. It doesn't mean that it's, yeah. In one experiments, researchers blocked telomerase. Yeah, people do that in human breast and prostate cancers, promising the tumor cells to die. Acne,
yeah,
not a form of cancer. I have no idea.
You're talking about telomeres and telomerase, but there's no connection to acne still. I don't know if that's a point that you're trying to push or not, but that's not supported here. Acne is primarily like sebaceous activities, like oils and stuff like that. The fact that you can correct it with like
which can be
medications
genetic.
And topical
you
stuff.
Can like it is a heritable thing. My mom had really bad acne. I had really bad acne, and like that's a thing. But you know, lots of stuff is heritable, right? Spoon BS. Whoa. Keep it fresh, y'all. Keep it fresh. Where are we at on this cognitive distortion situation, Cal?
We're just about halfway, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
We talked about, we haven't talked about emotional reasoning. People who use emotional reasoning assume their negative emotions necessarily reflect their... I feel like
feelings aren't facts.
I was going to say, all of these have been, like, very similar. For example, people might think, I feel terrified about going on airplanes. It must be very dangerous to fly. Yeah. Okay.
Feelings aren't facts is like a big thing, but I would say to caution against going too far in the opposite direction and like avoiding feeling your feelings and repressing kind of thing, because like you know, either end of extremes can be problematic, right? So a lot of people will latch onto and identify with their feelings, like, oh, I'm sad, so I must have reason to be sad, like my life is so sad, otherwise I wouldn't be bummed all the time, which is problematic. But it's also problematic to be like denying your feelings and like everything's fine, I'm fine, you know, I'm fine, I totally deal with it, like you don't see me crying every day. And it's just like, yeah, but you're neurotic as hell and like you need to like go to therapy. Just go to therapy is the end result of all of this. Just go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
What's the next one?
Should statements. We love a good should.
Yeah, we talked a bit about that already.
People who use should statements tell themselves that things should be the way... Oh no, I lost my... Come back.
Well, we know what should statements are. WebMD, whose sources from Stanford, they found that those who had severe acne in their teenage years could be more likely to get melanoma. Sure, but they also have ruptured their skin, and basically it's scar tissue, which we know is more... susceptible to UV damage, right? Both acne and melanoma have ties to hormone androgen. Sure, again, also doesn't say anything about it being cancer. Melanoma isn't common, but it's most serious form of skin cancer. That's because it's most likely to get spread if it goes untreated. This is a study of women over 20. Yeah, I think what we're running into here is a conflation of causation and correlation, which, you know, things can be very related, but that doesn't make them other things or directly a result of, right? So especially in population level studies and especially in human studies where you can't actually control for these things, you know, like there could be very many other reasons why this might be the case, right? So maybe the same genetic sequence that makes you vulnerable to melanoma also makes you vulnerable to acne, right?
Yeah. I was also going to say depending on when that study was done, women over the age of 20, we'll say 20 some years ago, were part of the generation of women who were using tanning beds and were more likely to get like skin cancer or were using baby oil in the sun. So
so it could be a cohort effect. And
there is, I'll have to look at that actual study that it's sourced from to see if there's anything. But I guess there is obviously like an indirect relationship between those two.
Mm-hmm. I would suspect that the main reason would probably be because scar tissue is more sensitive. It just has like different melanin structures and stuff, like it just, or melanin content and different like structure to your skin. Like that's why they say like scar tissue should be protected from the sun even more than other.
Yeah. There's also possible that like a number of women, if they had severe acne, used something like what's the drug that everybody used to treat their acne that you can't get pregnant on?
I've taken it. I can't remember what the actual name is called. Accutane.
Accutane.
Which is just vitamin A, whole bunch of vitamin A.
Which like maybe there's a relationship between Accutane, I would assume not, but like an increasing cancer risk down the line. So like again, there's a possibility of these things.
Yeah. Are you going to post a WebMD link or a link to an actual empirical study? Because that very much changes my interest in seeing the link. I would caution everybody to take things that are listed on WebMD. I'm not saying that they're saying facts that aren't true. I'm not saying that they're saying untrue things by any stretch of the imagination, not necessarily, but context matters. Contextualizing information in a different way can lead to erroneous kind of links between things, which I think is what we're running into here. And I'm not trying to say that, you know, you're wrong or anything like that. There could very well be a study that links it. But again, WebMD, I would not say at all is a reliable source. I
think WebMD does a good job of converting what is known in medical scientific research to lay language. But I also agree that it takes a lot of things out of context. And I think people read it, like, there's obviously the WebMD effect of, like, you search your symptoms and then cancer is a possible cause.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is, you know, like, it's very uncommon. I feel like it over-conflates, like, certain symptoms and causes. Yeah,
but that's exactly why we do this type of thing, right? Is to take it and be like, hey, you're asking a scientist to interpret the science that has been interpreted in a way that isn't live and interactive. Like you can't ask the person that wrote the WebMD page what they meant by this sentence, right? So that's exactly why we do this. Are we logged into Discord? Oh, we are not logged into Discord. Rats. Okay, well, I'll look into it and report back on, there's no stream on Friday because my dad is here visiting, so I will report back next Vulgar Science. We'll read the thing if you
Monday.
drop it in the Discord, which it sounds like Maud is doing for us. And yeah, how many more we got?
Technically, there's 2 more. It's labeling, which is an extreme type of all or nothing thinking, which we already talked about all or nothing thinking. And then personalization and blame, which you talked about with dialectic behavioral therapy. So personalization occurs when you hold yourself personally responsible for an event that is not entirely under your control.
Yeah, looking at the sequence of events, looking at, you know, what's contributing to things. Like it's a holistic psychology, I think, is like one of the new kind of fields that looks at that. And there's like the community, there's your family, there's your immediate household, there's your, you know, mental state, there's your genetics, there's like all these influences on stuff, the time of day, the time of year, you know, all of that sort of thing should be included in thinking about why you are the way that you are. You know, like why am I afraid of dating? Why am I on a dating sabbatical? Because she's been hurt.
Why am I so depressed? Because we're in the middle of winter. Or we're getting to the end of it now. But.
And also you're doing a fucking PhD.
Yeah.
And
it's actually very common for people to go on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication during their graduate school experience.
Yeah, I've got mine up to the highest dose that they allow.
Love that.
Yeah. You know what? Take your meds, though. There's no shame in meds either. I think people being like, oh, I'm not going to be on them for life, or, you know, like, if that's something that's valuable to you, sure, but like let people take their medicine. Yeah.
I just started my SNRI for the first time last week, and venlafaxine, I don't know
venlafaxine,
and yeah, I haven't seen any effects yet. I think it's
last week you started?
I started on Tuesday last week.
You won't feel effects for
another
week.
It'll be a
week
while,
at least.
At least. Yeah, I think that, you know, it's, if you feel like you need that to help you, there's no shame in it. Also, talking about it in a long-term context, some medications are not meant for chronic use. So
that's true.
Being able to go to therapy and fix your issues, and there's nothing wrong with taking medication, but using other forms of learning good coping mechanisms so maybe you don't have to stay on medication forever is extremely valuable.
Yeah. And like it should be individualized to your situation, right? Like if I try and go off my meds, which I have tried before, not good, you know? So I have no desire to transition to be off of my medication whatsoever, you know what I mean? But some people might, and it should be a conversation with you and your doctor too, right? Like there's a reason that not everybody can prescribe things. But that's not to say the doctors are infallible, because some of my doctors have been dicks. But they won't give me Ativan. They won't anymore. I'm like, cool.
Like that specific one, or just any benzodiazepine?
Any.
Oof.
Yeah. I'm like, cool. I'll just have panic attacks anyway. Right? Different paths for different people. Yes.
Yes.
All right. What do you guys want us to talk about next? Vulgar science.
Yeah, tell us.
What's science? What's vulgar? What are you interested in? What do you want to hear about? What do you want to talk about? What do you want us to go on tangents about? We stayed pretty good this time. We talked about the things we wanted to talk about. We talked about 3 different forms of therapy, 4 different forms of therapy. We talked about psychoanalytic, CBT. Well, we talked about cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, narrative therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, lots. Hey, never fully. Oh, wow, you're right. You know what? I thought about this, okay, DK. I literally thought, like, holy shit, I didn't answer that guy's question. Have we tangented into D&D yet? Not yet. Okay, so okay, DK's question last time was about dopamine fasting, and I started on it, and then I think a hype train started.
Yeah, you were like, what's happening on my screen?
I was overwhelmed. Anyway, so dopamine fasting is the notion of trying to condition the response in your brain, in theory, the dopamine response in your brain, to be less to things that you don't want to constantly be reinforcing. So this is basically kind of like a neural level of a reward or punishment system. And by punishment, I don't mean like bad, like spank, or, you know, like take away a privilege or something. I'm using it in the term, in the context of actual conditioning nomenclature, which is a reward is something that increases the likelihood of a behavior, a punishment is something that decreases the likelihood of behavior. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. And dopamine fasting is the idea that you would then not go and do things that you know spike your dopamine. So you would lock your phone up, right? If you're trying to quit your phone. And then you would try to incentivize or reward a behavior that you're trying to supplant in place of that. So maybe you're trying to quit smoking and you want to start exercising more. So you're going to try and disincentivize the smoking by maybe obviously trying to do it less frequently, or pair it with something that you don't like, or you know, whatever, and make that less good. And then for exercise, you would maybe want to be like, okay, I'm gonna buy myself new shoes. I'm gonna always make sure that I'm wearing a cute workout outfit. I'm gonna do it with a friend. And then you couple it with these things that already are presumably going to give you a dopamine spike. So you're fasting it out of a situation and funneling it back into a different situation. And calling it dopamine fasting is just kind of fucking stupid, in my humble opinion, because A, no one has ever actually checked that, because it's impossible to measure specific neurotransmitters in your brain without sticking an electrode in. And B, you could just call it like behavioral shaping. It's not as sexy and cool and neuroscience-y sounding, but realistically, you're just behaviorally shaping yourself. And if you want to call it dopamine fasting, go ahead, but it's a bit of a misnomer. So anyways, hope that helps. I learned from experience, never take yourself off medications cold turkey. Do not do that. Yeah, absolutely. Risto Rock, that is A great point.
You have to, anything that's fucking with like your neurotransmitters or your hormones, you should be weaning off of, because your body has a tolerance response and it needs to adjust.
Yeah. Also taking supplements with stuff, like taking things like St. John's wort.
Yeah.
If you can get serotonin syndrome, and like, I know people talk about supplements being bullshit and that they do nothing in your body, but some of them do. They're very active in your body and can change things in a way that's very problematic if you're on other things. So always talk to a medical professional about that. Because you got rated. Thanks for the explanation. I thought it sounded kind of dumb when I heard it. So it's just a dumb name for a real phenomena, right? What activities can I do with my 3-year-old niece in order to maintain... This is the wrong person to ask. I don't know what a 3-year-old even looks like. Do they talk yet? Do they talk when they're 3?
Yeah, this 3-year-old specifically is very advanced and actually can string sentences together that are understandable by not just her parents. She's actually very well spoken for a 3-year-old.
I don't know. I liked animals, taking them to an animal, like a place with animals, a zoo or like a petting zoo. Somewhere where you can interact with the animals would be sweet. Taking them to a shelter, take them to a puppy shelter, get them a cat, get them a dog.
She has 2 dogs already.
Get her another dog.
More dogs.
Get her another dog. That would make you my favorite uncle if you got me a puppy.
Yeah.
But yeah, interacting, seeing cool things, seeing like cool animals and stuff that you wouldn't normally see. Letting her go and collect shiny rocks and stuff like that. Is that safe for 3-year-olds? You can't do that. Lego, yes. Oh yeah. More puppies. Can you review the products known as Kernel, Dream, and Think? Are these nootropics? Is that what these things are? We'll do that next time because it's 10:09. Oh my god, my parking! I'm gonna have a fucking ticket.
No,
Fuck.
you won't.
It didn't go off. My alarm. It's been like almost 3 hours that it's been in a spot that it shouldn't have.
This is like Scoob. Okay, well, we hate parking and we love dogs and Lego. On Vulgar Science, this has been Layla Showed. And
Neuralicia, I was reading the thing. Sorry, I was reading the chat. Listen, this has been Layla Showed and ... space out, stare at the ceiling. Sorry, that I am the chaotic one. I'm sorry, you are the reliable one. You're the good one. I'm the biased one.
And this has been Vulgar Science. Thank you guys. Have a great night or day. Bye.
Yeah, all the above. See you all. No stream on Friday. See you next Monday.